let's kick things off this year at the Detroit Auto Show. Jonas and I are at the NAIAS, and boy, I mean, there's a lot of great cars to check out. But of course, some new world premieres that I've been dying to see, and I know you guys have as well. So just chill out, and grab some popcorn, grab a beer, come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. The highlight of the Ram booth here at the Detroit Auto Show has to be this, the all-new 2019 Ram 3500 and its younger brother, the 2500. A lot of cool stuff to talk about this car. Let's take a quick walk around. Let's start with a quick look at the 2500. I think the front for the three brothers, the 1500, the 2500, and the 3500 are quite similar. Of course, these are the more heavy-duty trucks. LED lights are now optional, depending on the trim as well. Of course, you have a lot of different trims, including the Power Wagon, the Laramie, and even a black edition, whereas where the things like the front grille will also be all in black. But of course, a vertical, huge grille with three big letters stamped into the middle, RAM. Really bold. The LED headlights, by the way, also come with the optional adaptive LED lights, so they will help with things like cornering assist and things like that. The chassis is now stronger, lighter, and stiffer, and of course includes great features such as independent suspension or even air suspension for the rear axle. You get different kinds of cabs, of course, and a crew cab, a mega cab, and as usual with Ram, they pay a lot of attention to not just the exterior design, but also the interior. They have an award-winning cabin for their 1500, and they've carried that over now to the 2500 and the 3500. We'll take a look inside in a little bit, but I mean, every time I see one of these American pickup trucks up close, it's enormous, it's titanic. I mean, look at this, it's huge. Of course, load capacity and towing capacity has also been is much more now for the 2019 trucks, and yeah, overall a great workhorse. Here at the back, well, the new Ram 2500 and 3500 come with a lot of safety features, so including things like a rear camera here at the tailgate, as well as one at the top of the cab. They even have a rear collision alert, front collision alert, adaptive cruise control. A lot of more stuff. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a bit. But I think the back is fairly simple. Of course, their branding is really prominent, very large. And a clean design. Of course, you get it in a 4x4 or also a 4x2 variant. But let's talk about some of the numbers now. The 2500 comes with two engine options, a 6.4-liter Hemi V8 petrol engine or gas engine with 429 pound-foot of torque and 410 horsepower. But what I'm really interested in telling you guys about is the 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel engine with 370 horsepower, and in the 2500 it makes 850 pound-foot of torque, but in the 3500 it makes a whopping 1,000 pound-foot of torque. That's crazy. And this leads to, for example, in the 2500, diesel towing capacity of 19,780 pounds and a payload of around 4,050 pounds. This is that 6.7-liter turbo diesel engine that I was talking about, the Cummins. In the 3500, this makes a colossal 1,000 pound-foot of torque. That's 1,356 Newton meters. It's an inline-six turbocharged diesel engine. You can see the big turbo on the left-hand side. And this gives the 3500 a max towing capacity of 35,100 pounds. That's crazy. So something cool that I want to show you over here is the actual rolling chassis of the 3500. And you can see the front suspension, we have coils. But what's interesting is towards the back, of course, it doesn't have independent rear suspension. What I meant is that it has either coils or air suspension with the leaf spring hitch. So in this way, it provides a really good load-bearing capacity capability, but also because it's adaptive, the dampers, it also provides very comfortable road mannerisms and very comfortable ride. The entire frame is a lot stronger now. They use high-strength materials, but at the same time, it's a lot lighter. So, pretty cool. All right, let's take a seat inside the 2500. Of course, the door is really huge. It's the size of a house door, but plenty of storage on the inside. Materials down here are very hard. But as we go further up, there's some more plush materials. You do get a lot of genuine leather trims on the inside, but we would much rather prefer the more economical and slightly more eco-friendly, at least, synthetic leather or other fabric materials. Let's get inside. By the way, you can see as I climb inside, this car also has the optional 17-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. Wow. I've sat in the 1500 before, so this is nothing new for me. I guess there's no power connection to the car, but there is a huge 12-inch screen. The static model does not seem to have any power, but we've seen this similar kind of a system on the 1500. You can watch our video of last year's Detroit Auto Show where we did took an in-depth look at that. But plenty of technology, including a lot of safety features, 360-degree camera, collision alert, including automatic intervention, emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, parking sensors, trailer hitch cameras, lots of storage. I mean, I could fit a person, or at least a small child, in this big cubby hole. Enormous armrest. So you can pretty much carry your entire house in this truck. It's pretty cool. Of course, it's not just luxury, but it's also a lot of technology. So the speakers, there's charging ports everywhere, from up here to USB ports down here. There's 2 USB ports just right over there in that corner, and more charging ports down here. So it's a one-stop shop. It's kind of really does everything. You can fit 5 large adults very comfortably, carry, a lot of load in the back, tow your entire boat or whatever, your horses, and still arrive very comfortable. Of course, the cabin has also been made a lot quieter. In fact, the new 2500 and 3500 also have active noise cancellation. So the interior is very hushed, acoustic glass as well, large panoramic sunroof. I mean, it's hard to think. I mean, I'm not an expert on pickup trucks, but this is an awesome machine. I mean, there's so much you can do with this. And of course, it's going to be pretty expensive. We'll have to see what the prices are, but I'm really interested. I hope I get to drive this soon. All right, let's get into the back seat. There we go. Wide opening. Pretty good space inside in the back as well. Although headroom is not that great. I'm 5'8" or 1.7 meters, and as you can see, I fit pretty snug inside. I do have a little bit of headroom, but taller people might struggle. The roof liner is a bit scooped out here, so you have a little bit more space, but if you don't get the sunroof, then I'm guessing this will be a little bit better. But at least legroom is ample. You can also slide your feet under the front seat. A proper middle third seat for a third full-size passenger in the middle. Also really comfortable. No transmission tunnel again, because it's a body-on-frame. So it's also because of that body-on-frame which kind of eats up the headroom. But overall, lots of useful kit. Some nice storage spaces, air conditioning vents, more phone charging ports, beverage holders, so rear seat passengers are totally covered. I'm pretty heavy, but still no match for the capability of this truck. The bed is also very flat, very rectangular. Even the wheel arches do not impede at all into the bed, so that way it's a very usable loading area. Also has the nice abrasive material, very rough, can take a lot of hard work. And of course you have these boxes on the side, which are very useful. You can also lock them away with this key over here, so you can put some tools or something which is a little bit more valuable inside. Also a light. And there's one on either side, so one on this side and also the same over here, the RAM box as it's called. So overall, although I don't really feel that personally I would have anything to carry on a daily basis for me to warrant, buying a pickup truck, maybe my laptop bag, but that's this small. I would need 1 million laptops before it would make sense to buy this, but I do find it appealing. I do like the charm that, hey, I can go anywhere I want, I can carry whatever I want, I can pitch a tent here and go to some wilderness and camp out or take my bicycles or dirt bikes. Yeah, I want a pickup truck. I'm here with Bob Hegblum, the Vice President of Ram International. Thank you so much for being here and taking time to speak with us. Behind us, we have the new 2019 3500 pickup truck. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes it new? What are the new features that you've done to bring this up to date? And what do you expect people to know about this car when they're getting into it?
Right. Well, we're here at the North American International Auto Show, and this is our all-new 2019 Ram Heavy Duty. And not only the 3500, we also introduced the 2500 today as well. And we made a number of updates to this product, but key things to remember: it's the most powerful, it's the strongest because it will have more payload than anyone else in this segment. It has a higher tow rating than anyone else in this segment. And then on top of that, almost the beauty and the beast, it's the most luxurious in the segment. And so when I start talking about those, with our 6.7 liter Cummins diesel engine, it will deliver 1,000 pound-feet of torque, which no one comes close to. And what that does is that increases our overall tow rating to 35,100 pounds, and with a best-in-class payload as well, with 7,680 pounds. So you start looking at what this truck can deliver, and it's absolutely incredible. And that's what's important for a heavy-duty customer. Now, we also have our 6.4 Hemi petrol engine that we offer in this vehicle, and that's going to be mated with an all-new, first in the segment, 8-speed transmission to help with the overall fuel efficiency and cost of ownership on this truck. Now, 98.5, so nearly all of the frame is now high-strength steel, so we increase that to handle those heavy loads that this truck can deliver. But we've made it very easy for the consumers. When you think about it, a big truck like this, difficult to park, difficult to handle. People get intimidated by that. But it's got a 360 camera on it, front and rear park sense, adaptive cruise control, and it does all of that even with a trailer on the back. When you start thinking about it, this is a dual rear wheel in the back. So you've got your 4 tires in the back, the 2 up front. You're going to be able to know if any of those tires are starting to lose pressure. Not only that, because we know how important it is for these customers, you're also going to be able to see where the tire pressure is on your trailer. So things like that we've done to make it much more user-friendly for our consumers when they get into that work-type application. Now, the interior, we've taken the light-duty interior and put it into this truck. So Yeah, so our 1500 Ram that we introduced last year, we've taken those touch points, heated, ventilated seats, all the premium appointments, the big 12-inch monitor. We've taken all of those great features that have been recognized in our light-duty truck into the heavy duties as well. So not only does it deliver on all the capability, it's got the best-in-class luxurious interior as well.
Absolutely. I also remember I spoke to, I think it was Mr. Jim Morrison. I can never forget that name. It's the best name ever.
Exactly.
Right? When the 1500 was launched last year. And I think there was also things such as it had a mild hybrid technology. It also had things like active aerodynamic channels on the front grille. It would coast, it had active cylinder management, it would shut off some cylinders.
Right.
So, of course, this kind of efficiency and hybrid technology is something that is very core to the future. And while it makes sense for light-duty vehicles like the 1500, how are you guys, trying to think of how to integrate that or, bring some of that technology to heavy-duty trucks as well?
Right, and when you look at this, best-in-class aerodynamics, and we accomplish that. When you look at it, it's like you have the largest grille on these, and we have to do that so you can get the airflow to cool your engine when you're in that work situation. If you're not and you're driving down the road, similar to the light duty, we have the active grille shutters, and that will close it off. It pushes the air around the vehicle to give us that best-in-class scenario. We brought the 8-speed transmission into this product as well, which is great for fuel efficiency, the comfort. The vehicle's not shifting all the time. Now, you've got your range select, so if you're towing or working and you need to use that, it's there for you. So we've tried to do that. And then, similar to the light duty, a number of the things with the different systems that we put from our electronics that help with efficiency as well, we've put on this truck.
Fantastic. So it does seem like the new 2500 and 3500 will follow in the footsteps of the 1500. The 1500 has won the Truck of the Year. And maybe we'll see that same thing happening with the 25 and the 35 as well. Thank you so much for your time, Bob. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Behind me, you see the power wagon of the 2500. This is the most off-road capable Ram power wagon. It has things like, first of all, four-wheel drive with locking differentials, a lot of under-chassis armoring, suspension lift, more off-road capable tires, even things like decoupling sway bars. A really formidable machine. So I think Ram has a great formula for these pickup trucks. Now with the heavy duty that they're making for the 2500 and the 3500, we saw last year that the 1500 was a great package and it sold really well. In fact, it is the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. So I'm pretty sure the 2500 and the 3500 are also going to bring laurels to Ram. And I'm interested to see if we see these trucks in Europe anytime soon, if it becomes a thing there. Who knows? What are your opinions? When you think of the word Jeep, this is the image that probably pops into your mind. The Wrangler, two-door with its roof off, no doors, climbing on some rocks. But today, the Jeep lineup includes a lot more than just this Wrangler. There's the four-door wagon, the Unlimited, and the all-new 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Let's take an in-depth look at these two cars. Here we have the Unlimited in the Rubicon trim. The Rubicon is the most off-road capable version of the Wrangler, so it has a lot more hardware underneath to help it tackle those rougher roads, higher ride height, even better tires, things like that. Up front, it is trademark traditional Jeep. We will talk to Mark Allen, the designer for the Jeep, and he will give us his insights in a few minutes, but it's a very recognizable styling, and they've retained that. And I also like the modern touches they've added, for example, these LED headlamps, projector lights, and yeah, subtle other cues like that, but it's a pretty bold design. It's a very big car overall. The Unlimited is the four-door version, so it's available on all the trims, the Sport S, the Sahara, and the Rubicon. The Unlimited is 188 inches long, and the wheelbase is 118.4 inches thereabouts. The four-door configuration improves practicality, allows ease of access to the rear passengers, and overall is a more practical car. The trunk space is also very generous. Of course, if you take the roof off, it's also easy to access and brings that classic Jeep look to the Unlimited. I also like the stance that these larger wheels and the flared wheel arches provide this car. And to top it off, a large spare tire on the tailgate completes that authentic Jeep look. Let's take a look under the hood. These clamps also provide that extra bit of engagement, I suppose. So, powering the Jeep Wrangler is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, like you can see in this case, which makes 270 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. There's also a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, which makes 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. They either come with an 8-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. The towing capacity of the 285 horsepower engine variant is 3,500 pounds. So, pretty formidable, capable machine. Let's get inside. Of course, in this case, the doors are on, but you can take them off and make ingress that much easier. Quite a monotone interior. Very flat door also, but materials are not that bad. Pretty plush. Some netting here. Let me climb in real quick. Getting inside is a bit of a climb, thanks to that extra ground clearance. Getting comfortable is not that tricky. You have a lot of adjustments in the seat for seat height and lumbar support and reclining, things like that. The dashboard is also easy laid out. You can see there's a large display in the middle where you can access a lot of information, and yeah, it's quite useful. The center screen actually, when I drove this car earlier, I did not like that it's facing, directly to the back. I wish it was a little bit more tilted towards the driver. It is a bit of a reach, but more than that, I think it would have been a little bit nicer if it was facing the driver. But apart from that, really large rotary dials for your controls, heated steering wheel, heated seats, a lot of options to make your life in this car a lot more comfortable. A lot of places to charge your phones. Being the Rubicon, you also have a lot of off-road capable hardware, including a transfer case, as you can see down here, locking differentials, which you can operate with that, a electronically decoupling sway bar, and yeah, lots of storage spaces. Headroom, in all honesty, is great with the roof off, as you can see right now. But if I imagine that the roof is around this height, it can get a bit cramped for a lot of taller passengers. And that's also because this is a body-on-frame configuration, which means that even though it's quite tall and big on the outside, the cab itself is not necessarily that large. But on the whole, width is pretty good, which also makes the cabin quite airy and open. Let's climb inside. Watch your head. Well, same story back here. A little bit of a climb, but space for your knee is not that bad. The bench is a little bit on the lower side, I would say. For somebody of my height, 5'8" or 1.7 meters, it's pretty good, but taller passengers might find their knee a little bit upright. A lot of places to fasten your tools in a very organized manner. This is something that they've also included. A net down here. Air conditioning vents for the rear seat passengers. A lot more charging ports down here as well. You can get these rubber mats, which are easy to clean and just hose down after a day of dune bashing with the roof off, you can expect a lot of dirt inside. Creature comforts also include a center armrest, and it's also cool because this headrest is integrated, and that kind of prevents the armrest from going all the way down, and this also helps it retain a good height for your elbow. Cup holders, and yeah, speakers here as well, so a pretty loud rocking sound system, I can assume. You can open the tailgate as such. If you have the roof up, as in the case of the Sahara, Jonas, if we can get a shot of that white Jeep over there, you can see that there's also a glass, so you would swing this out and then the glass can go up. Very flat loading bay, generous amount of space, a little bit more storage down here as well, and a large subwoofer, some charging ports as well. So this is the Wrangler Unlimited, but we'll show you now the Gladiator, which actually has a proper 5-foot bed in the back. And here we have the Gladiator. Of course, in the front and along the side till the second door, it's about the same as the Wrangler, but as you can see, there's a 5-foot bed at the back. It's 31 inches longer, and in fact 19 inches longer in terms of the wheelbase as well. Again, front is very similar to the Wrangler, has a lot of extra features in terms of safety kit, like a 360-degree camera, a lot of parking sensors, things like that. And this is branded as a 100% truck, 100% Jeep. So the payload, for example, is 1,600 pounds. So let's take a look towards the side. Boy, as you start walking along the side, you can really feel that extra size and length. But this improves its capability, it improves rather its practicality as an adventure vehicle. This bed is quite large. It is at par with other competitors like the Toyota Tacoma. It is also at a lower height, so you can reach over this quite easily and reach items inside without having to climb up onto one of these things, for example. The extra length might hinder a little bit of maneuverability off-road, but like I mentioned, they have a lot of cameras, sensors, and safety tech to help make that a little bit easier. While most of the things are the same, there are a few changes on the interior of the Gladiator as compared to the Wrangler. One thing, for example, is that under the seat there is a separate storage compartment which you can lock. So when you do have the roof off and the doors off, you can keep your valuables here and make sure they're locked away and safe. And finally, this is the area of the most difference between the Wrangler, and that is the tailgate. There is a tailgate that drops down and now swings out like you see in the Wrangler. Like I mentioned, 5-foot loading area, very capable payload capacity and towing capacity as well. Abrasive material, so you can put some rough items. A 115-volt power socket over there. A lot of tethering points, lights. So put your bicycles, put your motocross bikes, go on an adventure. That's what this car is just egging you to do. So while the Gladiator still retains the iconic Wrangler design philosophy, there are new additions like the flat bed. But don't take it from me, let's talk about the design with the man himself, Mark Allen. I'm here with Mark Allen. He is the chief designer for Jeep, and he has been the chief designer for the past 10 years. So it's safe to say that the way Jeep looks today is because of you.
Well, yeah, I've had my hand in a few of them, yeah. Lucky enough to be the head of Jeep design, been here in about 10 years doing that. Before that I was doing pickup trucks and Jeeps, so back and forth throughout the years.
Fantastic. So, Mark, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the story of how Jeep started. For example, let's take the Wrangler behind us right now, especially in the Gladiator configuration. How Jeep has evolved from the traditional kind of 4x4 Jeep utilitarian vehicle to something which is lifestyle oriented, is almost a cult symbol right now, and how you have been a part of that, how you feel, just the story behind that.
Honestly, I would say that Wrangler really hasn't evolved too much. It hasn't strayed very far from its roots. You remember 1941, that's when we put together the first little flat fenders. after the war, that became a brand. It was never meant to be a brand, but the basis of what now is known as the Wrangler since 1987, it's been the Wrangler. That has evolved. It's better off-road, but it's more importantly, it's better on-road. When we added the four-door to the lineup in '07, the four-door opened up a whole new arena for us. So the vehicle became less of a toy, and you could use it every day. Much more comfortable, especially on the road. The Gladiator now is the third member of that Wrangler family, so we just keep opening the horizons to it. We refreshed, did an all-new Wrangler last year. We showed that in the LA Auto Show. It's been on sale for about a year now. And we put a lot of effort into the interior, made big long lists of things that could be improved. The way the top worked, the way the interior was set up, making the vehicle drive nicer, but even then made it more capable off-road. Added a 33-inch tire. We've now added winch-ready bumpers to it. So we've been improving Wrangler over and over, and now we've added the Gladiator is its own beast. It's made from a lot of the parts that make Wrangler. This is our entry into the mid-size pickup truck segment. Jeep has had 6 pickup trucks in the past. The most notable was the Gladiator. The Gladiator was a full-size, full-on, body-on-frame pickup truck. Lasted through about 1988 or so. So that was our just beast of a truck, tough truck. Making it from the Wrangler, we get a lot of the good Wrangler stuff. That the roof comes off of all of them. There's a soft top, hard top, doors come off, windshield folds down, And I always joke, well, people say, why would I put the windshield down? Why
wouldn't you?
Why? Well, I say these fun modes of transportation don't have a windshield. A surfboard, a bicycle, a dirt bike, a roller coaster, right. It's part of the unique Wrangler story, and we chose to keep that alive. What's neat about the Gladiator, what stands out here from every other mid-sized truck, is this part, the Wrangler, the Jeep part. What we're standing in front of here is a Rubicon. Rubicon sits up on a 33-inch tire, and it has a little bit higher ride height than the wagon, than the Wrangler. Steel bumpers, winch-ready bumpers to it, low-range off-road, locking differential. So it's got all the good off-road goodies to it. Yeah, we expect people will buy this. Maybe they already have a Jeep. They're going to tow with it. It's got real towing capability, real payload capacity to it. They'll add it to the arsenal of stuff they have.
Great. I had the opportunity to drive, I think, the new Sahara for a few days. I drove it from Chicago through Iowa, actually. Oh, nice. And so I got to...
through there, yeah.
It's quite flat. A lot of cornfields out there in Iowa. And, of course, I understand that the Wrangler is a cult classic. Yeah. But, in terms of its on-road capability, I still found that on the highway you still have to kind of keep fixing the steering wheel just to keep it on the lane. And I was thinking to myself, the Wrangler is such an iconic car, and I understand you have to maintain what it is. You have to maintain what it is. You can't dilute its off-road capability. You cannot dilute what makes... you can't dilute its personality. Lots of good
behind-the-scenes conversations about this, right? On and on and on.
I can totally imagine, because I felt the same thing. Because at one point, one side of me was like, it should be a little bit more suited for on-road driving, because that's where most people would drive it. But then again, it would kind of sabotage or be a sacrilege to what it stands for. And you have some really great offerings for on-road SUVs, like the Grand Cherokee, or even lower down, the Compass is a fantastic SUV. So. Absolutely. It's a bit of a it's
Wrangler and the Gladiator is going to be part of this story, but it's the nucleus. It's the center of everything that we do in Jeep. So if it's a Renegade, Grand Cherokee, doesn't matter what, it gets a little piece of the Wrangler into it. I like that, and we're going to keep that. The off-road part of it is where we were born. That's why we are even around. The brand came about, wasn't a brand. After its usefulness in the Army, it went on to a nice civilian life and grew. The second product after the first little flat fender was a station wagon and a pickup truck. And the station wagon being made from the pickup truck, they didn't know it at the time, but they created the SUV.
Right.
And then later on in the early 60s, they created what they thought was a station wagon, the Wagoneer, but it had four-wheel drive capabilities and truck-like beginnings, and they created the luxury SUV. It's a really, I think it's a fantastic story what Jeep is. Even the name, no one really knows where the name came from, and I hope we never find out.
It's
Yeah,
a mystery to
yeah,
have.
I like that. I like that. It's just a unique part of the brand.
For me, the Jeep name, by the way, I want to hear what you guys think is the real name. I mean, the genesis of the name. For me, it was always the JPV. You know, not the Jeep from Popeye, but it was the general purpose vehicle, which became colloquially called as the Jeep or the GP, and then became the Jeep. So okay, well, thanks.
I believe both of them, and I don't care, and I hope, like I said, I hope we never find out.
Yeah. So just maybe a couple words on what can be coming forward, what's upcoming, what's the future of the Wrangler. I mean, now you have the station wagon, now you have the pickup truck here with the Gladiator, and you're competing with, of course, other FCA products that we just saw, like the 1500, but which is, again, this is lifestyle. It is the Jeep, it is the Wrangler. It's not really trying to be a pickup truck, but it still has
It's a real pickup truck. It really is. Only in a crew cab, 5-foot box configuration, and we were afraid of that, and we have real towing numbers and real capacity numbers for the truck. Where we're going to go from here, we'll probably take a breather on these and let them saturate the market a little bit. We're on to other things. I can't talk about future product, but we've got a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of things going on in Jeep right now, so watch us.
While the Wrangler still remains the icon of Jeep, the Gladiator is now taking that to a much higher level. I mean, look at this picture right here with the motocross bikes on the bed. Just screams out adventure, go anywhere ability, and wilderness. Very appealing, a very lifestyle-oriented product. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, we haven't had a chance to test this car out. These are still pre-production prototypes, but hopefully we'll get our hands on one of them pretty soon, and we can bring you an in-depth full review. I'm here with Ed Hessel, the manager of Mopar Performance Parts, and next to me is a pretty badass looking car, and on the other side is a pretty badass looking engine. So Ed, can you tell us a little bit about, let's start with the engine, and then tell us a little bit about the car as well.
Sure. So what we have here is our 426 supercharged Crate Hemi, part of our series of Crate Hemi engines that we offer from Mopar. So we started a few years back with the 345, 392 engines, and then we upped the game once with the Hellcat engine, and we call it the Hell Crate. We thought about how do we top ourselves and make sure we stay above our competition. Let's go for that magic 4-digit number, and we went for 1,000 horsepower. So that's what we've achieved with this engine here.
Phenomenal. So it's being a crate engine, so anybody can just pick this up and put it into their project car as well, right?
It's designated for pre-1976 vehicles without catalytic converters. It's typically run with headers. But yeah, it's a turnkey, plug-and-play, easy to go, runs on pump gas. So a lot of these engines that make all this power use race fuel. We wanted to make it really simple to get gas for your car that you put it in. So it runs on 93 octane.
It's really incredible. What are some of the key performance upgrades that you used on this on the engine to achieve this incredible number? Is it the supercharger primarily, or what are some of the main things? Since you're the technical guy, give me some technical details.
Sure. Well, it's been an evolution. So we started with our Hemi engines, and you've seen that over the past couple of years. We've had the Hellcat cars, and then last year we had the Demon, and now we've got the Red Eye, right? So what we've done is taken the production pieces that made sense for us and stuff that may have been in development down in the production side that never came to light. We've kind of adapted it and put it into this engine. So we've grown the supercharger from a 2.7 liter to a 3 liter. So they've improved efficiency inside there. We have a new aluminum block instead of using a cast iron block. And that block is a derivative of what we've been developing with our NHRA stock program. So that's a factory stock winning block that's underneath there as well. So that lightens up the load a little bit, and it gives us some machining options to tweak. We adopted the heads from the Red Eye and the Demon, and we use their valve train. We have a custom cam that our guys worked with a comp cam to develop, so we get the right amount of lift and lobe in there. And other than that, it uses a lot of the production parts that make it easy. So the Hellcat front end and FIAD, coils, fuel injectors. We have custom fuel injectors in there to deliver the fuel load. but the fueling system, we use the same module that you would find in one of the Demon Road cars that can vary the amount of fuel pump on time it needs to keep it fed. So it's a hybrid of internal know-how and some of the parts we had to get from the outside. Like, we don't have an internal 426 rotating assembly, so pistons, rods, and crank. So we partner with some of our already partners on the OE side that do their aftermarket business to get the rotating assembly together. So it's probably like a 50-50 split of internal parts and external parts, but it's definitely got some high-tech stuff going on in it.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of the engine, can you tell us a little bit about where this engine has now been implanted into this wide-body supercharger, as you call it? A little bit about this car.
Sure. Well, we showed this car at SEMA in 2018. This is the supercharger concept, and the guys in our design office decided that we needed a great package to showcase this 4-digit engine horsepower, right? So they created this car to wrap around. Originally started out 68 Charger, was driving running car when we got it, and they basically stripped it down, created a full frame channel on both sides for it, put a beefed up rear end in it, independent suspension in the 4 corners so it handles somewhat. Obviously the wheels are huge, wide, right?
Tires are huge too.
Yeah, and that's why the fender flares are on there, to accommodate the wider tire. And they have the 6-piston Brembo brakes, so this thing will go and stop. It runs a Tremec 6-speed manual transmission, and that features our plug-and-play crate Hemi kit.
Fantastic. So, any chance that this will make it into some production cars in the future? I mean, we have the Red Eye now, but or is it going to be more of a crate engine because it needs to, without a catalytic converter, it might not perform the same way?
Yeah, I mean, when you start applying emissions to the engines, it definitely, you got to squeeze down the horsepower numbers, right? Right now, for us, it's just kind of a feather in our cap. We wanted to say the Hemis are here as crate engines. They're a viable option, and we want people to go. So that's kind of our crown jewel right now.
And just a ballpark figure, how much would that cost as a crate engine?
We're still not announcing pricing. We still have to wait a few more weeks to get there.
All right, well, Ed, thank you so much for your wise wisdom. And the Elephant, the Hellephant, I think is a fantastic name for a very fantastic engine. Hey, Jonas, ask me what's my favorite car.
What's your favorite car?
Well, this is one of my favorite cars, the LC500. I think it looks incredibly dramatic, very beautiful. And to me, this also represents what driving is really all about. Yes, they could have made this car much faster with a twin-scroll V6 turbocharged petrol engine, but no. A naturally aspirated V8, a very elegant interior. It's just all about the driving experience. Catering to your senses, your sight, your sound, your feeling, the smell. I think it's a great package. So Jonas, ask me how they could make it better.
How could they make it better?
With this, the LC500 convertible, even though it's just a concept, I think it retains what the LC500 already does, but brings it up 2 levels higher simply because the roof is now off. Same elegant lines. Of course, the drivetrain is just as awesome, but with the roof off, you become part of the landscape, part of the road you're driving, and the experience is that much better. But what's more interesting here, the Lexus stall is right over there, the RCF Track Edition. Jonas and I made our way to the Lexus booth here at the NAIAS, and we have here with us the RCF Track Edition. Let's have a quick walk around and check out this car. The front of the new RCF Track Edition is undeniably Lexus, with this large spindle grille, which is not to everybody's taste, but I actually like it. Of course, the very angular LED headlamps and a very healthy dosage of carbon fiber everywhere. On the hood, down here in the splitter, and even around the side and the back, we'll show you in a minute, there's carbon fiber everywhere. Along the side, a very cool 2-door coupe body style. I also like the matte black 19-inch rims, which are really good and useful because behind them we have the carbon ceramic disc brakes. Look at that bright red brake caliper. Going further down the side, again, more carbon fiber in the lower side skirt. A lot of little aerodynamic vents and channels, like right over here along the side. Glossy black rear view mirror. Also carbon fiber roof to keep the low center of gravity lower and just reduce the weight of the car. Towards the back, a sloping coupe roof line with, of course, a big carbon fiber wing. At the back you get a better view of that carbon fiber wing. Really good, and again very useful as well to provide more downforce for a car like this. 3-dimensional tail lamps, more accentuations, aerodynamic channels along the sides of the bumper, and of course down here a really aggressive looking rear diffuser, also carbon fiber. And I also like these titanium exhaust tips, quad tips on either side of the lower bumper. And I like the titanium exhaust tips also because of that kind of bluish hue that they have. Just makes it look a lot cooler. Let's get inside. I've been told I'm not allowed to touch or move anything, but just sitting inside, wow. Steering wheel feels like a race car steering wheel. Paddle shifters for the 8-speed automatic transmission. A really tiny shifter over here. Aluminum pedals. Also, like we saw on the door, this cross-stitch red carbon fiber trim. Nice materials up here. Good build quality. A touchscreen on the top. A very fancy looking watch, or a clock rather. Interestingly, a CD player as well. Wow. In 2019, do you guys even use CDs anymore? Little quirky things like this with Lexus, but whatever, no problem. Touchpad over here. And yes, Alcantara. Feels really good, feels really smooth. I wish I could start this car up and take it for a spin, but hopefully we can get Lexus to send us some test cars and we can review this very car in a few months. Fingers crossed. And a little bit more space in the back, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to hop in there on this show vehicle. But anyway, it's a two-seater. In fact, it's really just about the driver. You know, of course the seat is comfortable and so on and so forth, but it's not meant for long drives. It's pretty stiff. It's got very stiff, tight side bolstering. So it's meant for driving well. It's meant to enjoy the drive. It's to engage the driver. And yeah, it's a pretty cool car. I'm here with Chad Deschamps from the Lexus College of Design.
So Lexus College is a part of our training program for Lexus, where we get a chance to design programs to train our dealership associates and also owners how to use your vehicle.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I'm really interested in this car right here, the new RCF, and especially the Track Edition. So can you tell us a little bit about what's new for this version of the RCF, and specifically what makes this Track Edition that awesome?
Absolutely. The RCF we're very, very excited with for 2020 is all new from the ground up, looking at everything all over again, and it's race bred. So this vehicle has been developed with our teams and learnings from our 24-hour Nürburgring and also from IMSA Racing Circuit here in the United States, and kind of worked with their chief teams to make these vehicles unbelievable to the point that you can drive them to the racetrack, drive them all day long, and drive home, and not need another vehicle. That's amazing.
So, I mean, I understand that's kind of what the RCF does anyway. So what does the Track Edition bring to the table that the standard RCF doesn't?
So the Track Edition, what that's doing is it takes a look at the elements to take it even further on the track. So what we did was we reduced down 176 pounds out of the vehicle by, like on the front end here, we have all new 19-inch ultra lightweight BBS wheels. Also paired up to it is Brembo carbon ceramic brakes that are allow you to stop even better on the track and withstand all those temperatures all day long and get you home. Just up front, we lost 55 pounds with that design. Then what you also see around the lower valance of the whole entire vehicle is a carbon fiber body kit on the vehicle. So you have a lower front spoiler, side and also rear diffuser, along with a carbon fiber fixed rear spoiler. So what that's doing is it increases the amount of downforce on this vehicle, so that way it allows you to help and handle those corners a little bit easier. This vehicle is also designed to really make sure that you can take those corners even harder to reduce down the amount of understeer. So for example, we have brand new Michelin tires that are paired up 4S that are specifically designed just for this vehicle, a little bit more bespoke style, where it can handle those corners a little bit harder. Bringing that 472 horsepower, it's a 5 horsepower bump up from previous year, and allow you to get all on the road. Inside the vehicle, what we also have is a specific circuit red interior, where it's circuit red leather along with our Alcantara matchup, along with a red carpet inside specific for just the track pack. Along with on the doors, you can kind of see the carbon fiber red stitched interior trim as well. In the back of the vehicle, we also reduced down weight by adding in a carbon fiber rear support in the back, giving you a little bit extra reduction of weight, along with on the half shafts of the rear axle are now hollow, but also very stiff and rigorous, so that way it's also producing you the power that you need. Between all these packages, allowing you to get 0 to 60 with the all-new launch control that's also in the vehicle. It's brand new. Get it 0 to 60 previous year was 4.4. New version now, and this track pack is 3.96. So a great reduction in 0 to 60 acceleration performance on this car.
So, okay, the way I understand this now is, even though it's a track edition, you still haven't skimped out on things like, comfort and just overall luxury. Like a lot of times when car companies make track editions or performance packs of certain performance sedans or cars, they strip away a lot of the sound deadening, for example, on the interior. Then the car becomes really brash and harsh, and it can do one thing really well. It can go really fast, but it doesn't do anything else. You can't take it to the shops.
That other vehicle to take you to that track to experience it. This vehicle, legitimately, we're Lexus. We look at all angles to where you want to be able to drive that vehicle to its limits, but also drive it to work, go out to dinner with it. That's the beauty of that RCF, like you mentioned earlier. You can do everything in it and not need that second car. And this track edition just takes it that next step further to really push the limits of yourself and the car. So you have a lot of fun on the track on those days. And you even talked about it, the noise on the vehicle. Titanium exhaust system on this vehicle takes it to another level. So currently right now with certain vehicles as well, nowadays they look at active sound control to take out some of those noises that you don't want inside the vehicle. This track edition sounds so good. There is no active sound controls going on in this vehicle. It's pure engine, pure roar, pure excitement, and it actually kicks in a lot sooner. So the intake on this vehicle actually opens up at a lower RPM level, actually just over 2,000 RPM, to give you that full engine throttle that you were looking at about over 3,600 RPMs before. So you get more of that noise at lower speed.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just saying earlier that for me, the LC500 is one of my favorite cars on the market right now. And it's for a lot of reasons. Like, for example, it's not trying to be the fastest. It's a bit more heavy. It's still a bit more luxurious. And you could have had a faster 0 to 60 time with a twin-scroll V6 or something like that, a turbocharged engine. But having a naturally aspirated V8, making a car look that good and feel that good and drive well is so much more important than numbers on paper. But numbers on paper still matter, so can we open the hood and just, can you tell us a little bit about what powers this beast? Look at this carbon fiber hood. Jonas, look at that. Wow, super cool. Let's see how light it is. I got it. Wow.
So very, very lightweight. So you have carbon up on top and carbon composite on the inside under panel of the 472 horsepower engine. Again, it's a 5 horsepower bump, and also being that naturally aspirated V8, which is one of the last in the market, which is wonderful. You also get 6 extra pound-feet of torque on this vehicle, so a little bit extra pull on that to help you with that launch control.
Fantastic. And rear-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive,
No
yes.
four-wheel drive yet.
No.
Well, I think that's, again, that's what makes Lexus cars drive and feel the way they do. It's rear-wheel drive, naturally aspirated V8, and just that pantomime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when can I drive the car?
It's going on sale in April. Currently don't have pricing yet, but it'll be a little bit closer to launch.
Well, I have your card. I'm going to give you a call in April then. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure.
The RCF has always been a great package, a good combination between driving performance and acceleration and handling, but at the same time maintaining good comfort on the interior, as all Lexuses do. The Track Edition now takes the performance up several quotients, still retaining the comfort as well. For me, I think it's a great package, but I really want to drive it before I make up my mind myself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. After over 20 years, it's back, and it's angry. I'm talking about the all-new 2020 Toyota Supra. Front and the overall design of the Supra is carried over from the FT1 concept that we saw a few years ago. So this long snout in the front, very arrowhead type design, very sleek LED headlamps, very aggressive lower part of the bumper, although this is just blocked off, it's more cosmetic. And of course, this singular front air dam just brings the car in a very aggressive, forward-pointing design. The platform, as we all know by now, is shared with the BMW Z4. So what that means is the track is fairly wide and the wheelbase is not that large. So this allows the car to be very planted, but at the same time provides a lot of agility. I really like these 19-inch wheels with the dual-tone color scheme, and look at those big brakes and the red calipers. Looks really great. As we go further down the side, in the bottom, there's a side skirt to help make the car that much more aerodynamic. Of course, proper two-door, two-seater coupe body style with the sloping roofline that just tapers away to this really small, subtle spoiler at the back. I also really like this swooping shoulder line over the rear wheel arch. Overall, it's a great, purposeful design. This view of the car is one of my favorite. I think it just looks so athletic, so muscular, almost reptilian. The roof has also got these nice haunches. The spoiler is integrated into the back and is also very pointed towards the rear. These three-dimensional tail lamps also give this car a nice, athletic, very intricate design. Down here, the rear diffuser is also really aggressive, very sporty, and of course very functional as well in terms of aerodynamics. Two large exhaust tips, and of course, I love that race car style light as well. And just makes me so happy to see this name and this logo back on a car again. What about you guys? Let's look inside the hood of the new Supra. Of course, it has to be a straight six, but now it's a twin scroll turbo straight six petrol engine, 3 liters with 335 horsepower and 365 pound-foot of torque, coupled with a 8-speed automatic transmission. That's the only option right now with paddle shifters. Of course, to rear-wheel drive with an active differential. This is also the same engine that we see in the Z4, so it's an engine that we know quite well. In fact, this kind of a inline-six BMW-derived engines are one of my favorite engines. I think they're really great, and we have to wait to see how this performs, but like I said earlier, it seems like we've already known this car for so long because there's been so much of teaser images. We've seen it on other events where it's been with a code name, but pretty much the same. So overall, we know what to expect from this engine, and it's very promising. So hopefully, once we get our hands on it, it will live up to the hype. Getting inside, the car just wraps itself around you. You feel like you're in a cockpit of a fighter jet. The front windshield is a bit narrow, but again, this is what we see in a lot of sports coupes. The windows on the side are also a little bit limited, and visibility out the back is also not the best, but it's a sports coupe. It's not terrible. It's very easy to live with. The steering wheel just looks great, very flat, very sporty, large paddle shifters. But there is this undeniable BMW-ness to the interior as well. Like, these knobs are very similar to all of the BMWs that we see. This floating instrument cluster over here. Of course, this is not a full production yet. This particular car, at least, is still a prototype, so a lot of these things don't work, but I know this is very similar to the BMW iDrive. It is. And including the toggle switch here and the controls, the center console are also very BMW-like, and that's no bad thing. I mean, why don't you share things from somebody who you know is much better at this, and it's just a great way of not having to reinvent the wheel. So we know this will work, we know it's intuitive, so I find that actually as a positive point. Apart from that, strict two-seater only, of course, but there is a very large, generous amount of loading area in the back. We'll try to open the boot and show you. Cup holders, there is no openable center armrest because the transmission tunnel goes right through here towards the rear. Sport seats are very snug. Side bolstering, at least in this variant, isn't that much. As you can see, it's there, but it's not incredibly protruding outwards. Neither is the base bolstering on the sides here. They're not that huge, so it is more comfortable. We'll have to see what kind of options are available later on, and if this is really insufficient for our track use or if it actually works quite well. But on the whole, it feels very purposeful. Materials are top-notch. Build quality is also really good. Soft plush materials. Technology is going to be very user-friendly. We can already anticipate that. Little bit of dashes of carbon fiber here. But overall, a very menacing, dark black, sporty interior. And that's the way I like it. So let's take a look inside the trunk. Not bad at all. Quite a large area, very rectangular, fairly deep. Goes in all the way to the cabin, as you can see down there. So it's easy access. You can reach over while you're in the car to grab some items if you need, if you have a backpack or some snacks. Below that, well, right now it's a bit restricted. I can't really open this, but I'm guessing there isn't really much below that. So this is a very usable space for a two-door sports coupe. You can't really ask for more, so good job. I'm here with Mr. Andrew. He's the Vice President for Toyota International. So he's going to tell us a little bit about the Supra. I mean, we're all super excited that the Supra is finally back, and it has, let's be honest, a lot to live up to. But I'm sure that on paper, at least, I've read the specs. We all know, what's really going on underneath. There's so much we know already. We feel like it's already been out for a while, but this is the official launch. So let me hear it. What's new?
Well, first of all, our company is headed by Akio Toyoda, who's probably the #1 car enthusiast in the world. And so it's great to have him as the president of our company because he personally spearheaded getting the Supra back. And getting it back in our lineup because it represents so much in terms of the passion of our company, our engineers, and frankly, our customers have been asking for this car back. So we're really excited to have it back in the lineup, but he is the guy behind this all. And so yesterday when we had our press preview, he was the one to introduce this car as I think very befitting given his role in this. So it is a straight six, inline six, turbocharged with twin scroll turbocharger, active differential, and really you may think the inline six engine is sort of the heritage of Supra, and I think a lot of people do, so we feel good about that. But this car here is very agile. It's got what we think of the perfect balance between track width and wheelbase, and the overall size of the car is really sized for agility. This is probably one of the things that's most noteworthy about it compared to any previous generation of Supra, is the kind of agility that we are able to achieve, the right weight balance, the right kind of proportions for a sports car. So a lot of these things have driven the sizing of the vehicle. We've got tons of good technology stories, but I'd say the key, the heart of this car is the engine, the chassis, and that active differential to really help it carve around corners.
So is the active differential standard across, first of all, I know there's the launch edition and then there will be like a base edition and a more premium edition. Does that mean that perhaps the base edition, once this is already on sale, and would that mean that there's no active differential for that? Or the hardware is standard across all the models?
Our active differential is standard on this vehicle. So regardless of whether it's the launch edition or the other models.
So tell us a little bit more about the evolution of Supra as a brand, because it's been a while since we've had a Supra, and what were the key things that you guys wanted to keep the same, and what were the things you guys wanted to change from what the Supra was in the previous generation some time ago, and how has this kind of captured the essence but also driving the Supra brand into the future?
Well, I would say that one of the heritage elements of Supra, of course, is a very robust platform, a robust powertrain, And of course, the aftermarket learned that very quickly, that they could do things to even customize the car, and still it was a very durable, great quality platform to work with. We wanted to keep those elements. We recognize that these days a sports car has to be even more well-rounded than before in terms of agility, not only straight line acceleration, but all of the aspects that bring into performance in the modern era. Good fuel economy, good refinement, so that we can live with it every day, and it's a pleasant car to drive. We wanted to keep some of the essence of Supra, but bring it into the modern era, and I think this story of more agility and handling is really where we particularly kind of moved the needle. I should also mention, in terms of our partnership, you asked me earlier about the partnership with BMW. We do have a respected partnership, and we respect one another and what we bring to the table. And so that's been also, I think, a good learning experience for our company. Work with a partner that's very well regarded in the engineering field, and to be able to develop this car, this is a great moment for us.
No, it is a culmination of two fantastic brands delivering one fantastic platform. And of course, while the substance might be similar, the taste is totally different between the Z4 and the Supra. And one last question before I let you go. So from now on, this is going to be the Gazoo Racing Supra. So you're kind of adding that moniker to separate it from Toyota altogether. Is there a reason behind that, or is it just temporary?
Well, the term GR Supra is really referring to Gazoo Racing. So that term GR Supra we are using because our company is very much involved in motorsports once again. We have a lot of our fans and our customers that are very happy to see Toyota back at a very high level of motorsports again. And so it's certainly a nod to that. It's a nod to our engineers who work on these products, and our organization that we've created actually to work on these vehicles. So that's why the term GR Supra.
Right. Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Really excited to drive this car. So hopefully you call me back and then give me the keys.
It's fabulous. It's fabulous. Trust me, it's a great car.
The Supra will be launched here in the US in the summer, and the launch edition starts at around $55,000. Once that edition is over, then the standard 2 variants, in that the base variant will start at around $50,000. And for that, you get 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.1 seconds, 335 horsepower twin-scroll inline-6 petrol engine, rear-wheel drive, 50-50 weight distribution, and the promise of proper Supra pedigree and fun. Still remains to be seen how much it lives up to that. Hopefully I get my hands on this soon, and we can give you guys a full report on that. Next to me is the Infiniti QX Inspiration electric SUV concept. This car is showcasing what the upcoming design language of Infiniti cars will look like. And in fact, a production version of this very car we can expect to see around 2021. It's a fully electric car, and by 2021, Infiniti will offer almost all its cars, the entire product range, with at least one electric option. It still retains some of the core Infiniti design language elements, like the shape of the grille can be seen here in the front, as well as the crescent cut on the D-pillar are also retained. But on the whole, being electric doesn't need any front grills, and the whole design is a lot smoother. So, what do you guys think about this electric design? Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We always post sneak peek pictures and videos, some special content, even special episodes that you can watch all for free, of course. And you can be the first before these videos even go online. And of course, we always post like these, for example, these stories. And you can tell us what you think, you can tell us what you want to see before we even get to the show and before we even start filming, and we can cater to your questions. So it's a great way to communicate with us, keep in touch, and see some more extra content. One of the coolest cars here at the Ford booth at the Detroit Auto Show has got to be this, the 2020 Shelby GT500. I mean, just look at this car. It's oozing menace. So let's take a quick walk around and see what this car is all about. First of all, I think the front of the GT500 is so much more different than the standard Mustang. Of course, you need to have the Cobra logo right in the middle, but immediately you notice these vertical slats on the sides of the bumper, which are very new. I think they look really great. Kind of seems a lot more aerodynamic as well, seems to channel the air from the front over the top of the car. But there's a lot more side skirts, a lower diffuser. The bumper also has a lot more extensions to bring the car a lot lower to the ground. Headlights are also really fit in really well with this redesigned bumper. Of course, huge air dams in the front to feed all that air to that hungry supercharger. And of course, go faster stripes along the top of the hood. Speaking of the hood, there's these really cool shark gill type vents right at the top of the hood, right where the power dome is. And let's go take a look at the side of the car. The car is so low and swooping. And look at these 20-inch carbon fiber wheels as well, or at least on the front, there's the facade, and huge Brembo upgraded brakes. Further down the side, more Cobra badging, a large side skirt to kind of channel the air around the edges of the car to make it more slippery and streamlined, a glossy black rear view mirror to add that more menace, and of course, as we make our way to the back, a huge carbon fiber rear wing to add that extra downforce, because this car needs it. Over 700 horsepower going through the rear wheels. Just imagine. The tires have to be really, really capable. They're Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, but the spoiler definitely helps improve that. At the back of the car, of course, the rear wing is the most prominent feature, but as we go further down, huge quad tailpipes which sound glorious. I'll show you guys in a second. The side skirts kind of wrap around and become an integral part of the rear diffuser as well. And of course, gotta love that Cobra. I'm back here with Carl. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Last year you were telling me about the Ford Mustang Bullitt, and this year, what do you have for me?
This is the 2020 GT500 Shelby, available this fall. So what it is it's a supercharged 5.2 liter with over 700 horsepower. So it's basically a revised block to take the extra pressure, longer cylinder head bolts, totally new valve seats, valve train still a CNC machined head, and we got an Eaton 2.65 liter supercharger, low mounted in the block to give us the lowest CG, and then quick response time into the intake manifold. That is mated up with a dual clutch transmission, a DCT. So why we do that, we know from the Ford GT that if we want to be fast on the track but carry a lot of torque through that shift, a DCT is a great application. Some people kind of refer to them as two manual transmissions shoved together, right? So from that perspective, the DCT offers the ability to take the full torque to the wheels, so we can get under 11 seconds in a quarter mile. And that also gives us the ability to take the transmission calibration and integrate it with our drive modes that we have on Mustang. So it's still, this is a 12-inch cluster, digital. So we take the digital dash and all that interface that you get, and then we combine that with the transmission calibrations, the engine, brake controls, ABS. So you can set track mode, drag strip mode, sport, normal, whatever in that line lock. So the DCT can change its character through that just like the MagnaRide can. So, and we have to run through a carbon fiber drive shaft, we have bigger half shafts, and that takes the power to the ground. So what have we done to actually use that power, right? So we're going faster, so it means we got to stop harder. So we've increased to 20-inch wheels and tires. That gives us the ability to take the front rotor up to a 420 millimeter front rotor, the biggest rotor of any coupe. And that gives us all the stopping performance with those 6-piston fixed Brembo calipers we have. And that's the stopping. So you're going faster, we got to stop harder. And then the chassis, we had to tweak the suspension geometry to get the 20-inch wheels and tires to fit. And it's all retuned with MagnaRide to give us that, that capability MagnaRide has with, changing the damping 1,000 times per second. So it can make a car feel very nimble as it goes into a corner to give you that quick reaction time to stiffen it up and out of the corner. So the tires are totally unique to this car, right? We have PS4S on the base car, and then the exposed carbon fiber track package. We have Cup 2s. just to give the customer a different choice of how they want to use their car.
So in terms of, first of all, what's 0 to 60?
We're mid 3 seconds.
Wow, impressive. And apart from, of course, the drivetrain and the performance enhancements, what about things like weight reduction? Is this car, is it supposed to be, more stripped out and raw, or is it still quite comfortable on the inside? What are you going for?
Yeah, so this will be in the showroom at the same time as the 350. So we think of the 350 with its flat plane crank. Right. It's kind of that raw, stripped down track weapon, right? This car is a little bit more refined, mainly because we want to make sure we can take all that power and put it to the ground. So in essence, it comes account a little bit more smoothness in the shifting, again with an automatic transmission versus a manual. So this car really revolves around a lot of power in that respect to have that power to the ground, right? And so that the impression you really get when you get behind the wheel of a 500 is really, it's not effortless progression, it's like the extreme power you get from the supercharged DCT. It's just extraordinary.
Fantastic. And so fall of this year, any idea ballpark how much it's going to cost?
Nope, we haven't announced pricing or final horsepower. We got a little bit of time to figure all that out. As soon as we get feedback from the show, see what people think.
Fantastic. Carl, pleasure again. See you next year.
Will do. Thanks.
Now with the Shelby GT500, Ford has a car that can compete with these hyper-muscle cars from the likes of Dodge. How much the price for this Shelby GT500 is going to be, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to find out. And of course the actual official horsepower figures, that's still not yet released. But I mean, 700 is more than enough. So what do you guys think? Is this the Mustang of your dreams? Surely is mine. Let's continue our walk around here at the Detroit Auto Show. And let's stop off here at the Ford booth. A couple cars that I really want to see here, first of all, is this, the new Ford Explorer. There's another car just down there, which we'll take a look at in a minute, the new Shelby GT500. But this is a new platform, a new architecture, flexible architecture that Ford has developed. It's a rear-wheel drive platform. The design is a little bit more evolutionary, but I think it's got a nice, fresh look. Might seem a bit similar to the previous version, but there's a lot more technology going on underneath. So let's take a quick look at this car. I do really like the way the Ford Explorer looks. I like how the headlight kind of merges into the front grille. It's very dynamic. I like the fact that it's also very horizontal. LED lights for the daytime running lights, indicators, as well as the main headlamps. A large blue oval in the middle with 3D logo for the Ford font. Further down, I think it's very plain, very simple. You have a lot of the assistance systems like the radar sensor, the camera, which is over here, the parking sensors. So I think a very neat package compared to some of the other cars that we see here in the US, like perhaps Ram or Dodge. I think this is a little bit more toned down in terms of its design. But then again, it's subjective. Would you have liked a new redesigned front look for the Explorer, or do you like the fact that it's still more, something more familiar? Very long swooping lines along the side, a fairly short shoulder line, which is kind of good because then the windows are quite large. I also really like the C-pillar, which is tapering backwards, kind of like the GLE. And overall, I think it's a very good stance. 20-inch wheels also give this car a lot of good, a very strong road presence. And towards the back as well, the last rear pillar is blacked out, very similar to the way the shade of the tinted rear windows are. So it kind of gives this floating roof effect, which makes the car seem a lot more dynamic. Your towing hitch down there, twin exhaust pipes, which look pretty cool. And I really like the fact that this is also a rear-wheel drive platform. I think rear-wheel drive SUVs make a lot more sense than front-wheel drive SUVs, simply because it's a lot more capable on undulating roads and a little bit more off-road capable than front-wheel drive SUVs. But on the whole, it's a very neat package. I think just has the right amount of design cues, like this spoiler, and it's not really over the top. Something that's more suitable to my taste. What about yours? Let's take a look inside. I also see that this car has a passcode that you can type in to unlock the car, but since it's unlocked because it's a show car, it doesn't really matter. The door opens really wide, giving you a very large and easy access into the cabin. Materials down here, as usual, are quite hard, but more plush, soft materials all the way to the top. Let's hop inside. Getting inside is fairly easy. The ground clearance is sufficient, but it's not extreme, so I didn't have to clamber up. Sitting inside is a fairly spacious cabin. The seat is actually not that high. I mean, of course you can raise it up, but I usually like to keep it low down, and in this way it does feel quite car-like. You don't really feel that you're sitting in such a tall, big SUV. Sitting inside, it is fairly spacious, but somehow the dashboard seems a bit mundane to me. There isn't really anything that's drawing my attention. There is some faux wood inserts along the top, but it's not that noticeable and not really something I personally would really enjoy. The materials on the top of the dash are quite soft, so that's pretty good. A floating display, and as you can see down here as well, more storage and a lot more charging ports as well, which are available. The rotary dial, which has kind of freed up a lot more space in the center console for more beverage holders. A very large center cubby hole, as you can see down here. Also an inductive charging port at the front. But yeah, I think this could be a little bit more dramatic, or a little bit more theatrical, or more engaging. But on the whole, I can't complain too much. All right, let's hop into the back seat, take a look. Yeah, getting inside is fairly easy. Again, thanks to the fact that it doesn't have an exorbitant amount of ground clearance. Ingress is quite easy. You can also recline the back seat to a desired angle. Plenty of knee room. I can also slide my feet under the front seat. Headroom for my 5'8" is pretty good. Of course, if you're sitting in the middle, this panoramic roof will liberate a lot more headspace, but it's a nice airy cabin. I have tall windows. I have access to the front windshield. Panoramic sunroof as well makes it really nice and airy. The center seat is also fairly comfortable. It is a bit upright. It is a bit stiff because of the armrest, but there are air conditioning vents actually up here on the roof, which is actually, I think, really interesting, a good way of doing it. Usually the center console has rear air conditioning vents, and they kind of blow out your knees all the time. But of course, B-pillar or, on the roof, I think, are a little bit better, so that's good to see. Charging ports, as usual, as expected. And yeah, I think the back seat is fairly good. Even though it's a rear-wheel drive platform, the transmission tunnel is also not that intrusive. Let's check the third row of the Explorer. One single switch to tumble the seat and slide it forward. I also have a nice step footwell area just down here to get inside. I don't see any handle. I guess I have to use this side. And in we go. Pull the seat back. So, back here, it's not that bad. I have pretty decent leg room with the seat in front. I have good shoulder room. I still have a small 3/4 window, but of course the bench is really low down. My thighs are off the seat completely. My knees are up high. There is no support for my under thigh, so it's not really that comfortable for long journeys for big adults, but children would fit In here, you also have ISOFIX points for child seats. So I think that is probably the best way to utilize these two seats back here. But it's good to have a 7-seater. And I can also see back here in the trunk, there's still a good amount of space to put a few suitcases. So a good family car. Let's take a look at the trunk since we were speaking about it. Automatic tailgate, at least here in the limited trim. And see, this is what I was talking about. Even with the third row of seats up, there's a generous amount of room. Even more storage underneath the bed. And of course, the spare tire down there. Let's put that panel back up. But yeah, with this in place, it is a very flat loading area, not much of a loading lip. And if you want more space, you can just tumble the headrests really quickly and use these buttons here to tumble the seat automatically, which is a handy, useful feature to have. Laura, I'm here with Bill, who is the chief engineer of the car. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us about the car. So back in Germany, we're not that familiar with this car. So can you tell us a little bit about what's new for this year, for this model, and generally what you guys at Ford are trying to achieve in the future and how this plays a part in getting there?
Absolutely. So this is the 2020 Ford Explorer, and it is all new from the ground up. It's our all-new flexible architecture platform that is rear-wheel drive based, and we started from the ground. We looked at what powertrain options we were going to start with, and then we meticulously recrafted the entire car for the customer. Right, but rear-wheel drive, right out they get on the architecture was something that we're really proud of.
So I think this architecture also is going to be used for the upcoming Lincoln Navigator, is that correct?
Lincoln Aviator. Yep, so we share the platform with them, and that is some of the fundamentals on the underneath, but in the grand scheme of things, they are very separate vehicles and engineered in completely different ways.
Fantastic.
Just
so,
to target customers.
Right, and because it's a rear-wheel drive architecture now, does that mean that there is a possibility to have all-wheel drive options?
Yep, every offering in our lineup has the ability to get four-wheel drive as well, so it is a customer selectable option.
Can you tell us a little bit about the drivetrain, what kind of engines and the hybrid technology, how that's working together now?
So we start with a 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine. It's a turbocharged engine, and that has 300 horsepower. A really great package, and again with the rear-wheel drive or the four-wheel drive option. From there, we have a step up into our hybrid power pack, which is a 3.3-liter naturally aspirated engine with the hybrid battery, and that produces 318 of combined horsepower. A really nice package for the customer. There we're targeting over 500 miles of range, so a great improvement for the customer. And then on the high end, we have in our Platinum and our ST, we have a 3.0-liter twin turbocharged EcoBoost engine. In the Platinum trim, it has 365 horsepower, and that has a really nice, luxurious, refined powertrain calibration. But then for some raw fun and driving engagement and excitement, we go over to our ST, where we're running 400 horsepower. And it's really a great package to drive. It has awesome 21-inch wheels, huge bright red brake calipers. It's really come out to be a driving enthusiast package for us.
And so now moving to this new architecture, what are the improvements in the interior space? Is that something that is bigger now, a little bit less? How has it changed?
That's a great question. So we started by moving the wheelbase. So we widened the wheelbase by about 6 inches, and that really allowed us to respace the first, second, and third row seats and fix some of those couple distances that were giving the impression of a large car feeling small on the inside. We also redid the center console. We went to a rotary gear shift and really got the stick shift out of the way to make it easy to plug things in, easier access to your cup holders, better small item storage. Paired that with both an 8-inch screen and then a 10-inch screen on the high end as well. A really nice redo of the interior.
And I see you guys have a couple different variants here at the show. Of course, the standard model in blue over here. There's also the Police Interceptor, and of course the ST, which we'll take a look at in a couple minutes. But maybe in a few words, what are the major modifications that went into making the new Police Interceptor from the standard new Explorer?
So the Police Interceptor is really something that we have completely engineered for today's officer. Right, it is their rolling office on wheels. And now it may look the same on the outside as an Explorer, but once we get it under the hood on the inside of the vehicle, it truly is purpose-built. Everything from ballistic door panels to seats with the side bolsters relieved so the officers can sit in there with their gun belts very comfortably. It has column shift, very traditional column shift for the police performance driving. It does share the 3.3-liter hybrid power pack, but the gear ratios are different. Certainly the calibrations are different.
It's heavier.
A little bit heavier than the standard retail car, but then it's also designed to handle a 75-mile-an-hour rear impact, and that is something that's really important for our officers, right? Unfortunately, that is a real-world scenario for them, and we're glad that we can engineer to that and help their safety on the side of the road.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, AJ.
And looks like you guys have a great product.
We're very excited. Thank you very much.
Let's take a quick look before we wrap up this video with the Explorer ST Platinum. We just heard about this car, has a more powerful engine on the inside, also like the matte black, or rather the glossy black logo on the top, also the black honeycomb grille, black tires, black rims rather, as well as quad tailpipes at the rear. I think it gives this car a nice sporty flavor, also with this bright red color. So, in conclusion, I think the Explorer has had a very good evolutionary change now with the next generation. Fundamentally a very different car than before because it's on a new platform. It's rear-wheel drive now, and this architecture is going to be used for some other Lincoln cars in the future. But they have not compromised on the interior space, although I do wish the interior dashboard design was a little bit more upmarket, was a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more trendy. What do you guys think? The RCF Track Edition and the Toyota Supra are not the only goodies here at the Detroit Auto Show for JDM fanboys. Oh no, there's something even more unique, and it's standing right here. It's the all-new STI S209. That's right, the S209. Let's take a closer look at this incredible car. The reason I said STI S209 is that even though this is a Subaru WRX as a base car, this is actually sold and marketed as a solely STI branded car. It's pretty interesting, and of course it is basically a WRX STI underneath, but there's so much more that's going on to bump up performance and of course the look of the car. So up front, compared to the standard WRX, the bumper is totally different. It's a lot more aggressive, very functional in terms of aerodynamics as well. Lots of channels on the side and down here near the diffuser to make this car a lot more streamlined. First thing that grabs your attention are these 19-inch gold wheels. Very Subaru, very cool. You can thankfully get this car also in the rally blue color, which I think will complete the look of this car. More aerodynamic channels along the side. A very nice STI S209 badging right there. As we go further down the side, flared wheel arches on the front and the rear, as you can see here, and a lot more aerodynamic channels along the side, and of course a big carbon fiber rear wing. Now we get a better look at that rear wing. Looks really awesome. Of course adds a lot of much needed downforce for this car. STI S209 badging right there. A rear view camera, a nice red stripe along the bottom of the bumper. Quad tailpipes look really huge. I bet they sound amazing. Can't wait to hear them. And a nice diffuser down here as well, which of course makes this car that much more slippery. Let's take a look under the hood. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. This is the EJ25. It's a 2.5 liter boxer turbocharged block. Here in the S209, the compressor and the turbine are larger in the turbocharger, and hence it makes roughly 341 horsepower. That's not confirmed, and we don't have any other numbers. But this is an interesting engine, so let's spend a couple minutes just talking about it. First of all, if you don't know what a boxer is, well, it's a very unique configuration of an engine. Flat engines are used by other companies as well, like Porsche for the 911. It's one of their iconic, it gives that iconic characteristic, but same for Subaru as well. Jonas, if you come around here a little bit, let's get a shot of the cylinder banks. You guys can see here, there's one cylinder bank that's running this way and one other cylinder bank running that way. So the cylinder banks are opposing each other and are flat. This means that the heavy engine block can be mounted low down in the engine bay, providing a low center of gravity. So all the ancillary units will be on top. Another interesting feature of this EJ25, especially rather uniquely for the S209, is the turbocharger intercooler, where you can spray water on top of that to give you an extra boost in power by making the air that much more colder and dense. So up here is the large intercooler, as you guys can see. It's very evident. And this is basically in charge of cooling the engine, the air that's going into the intake manifold, and that way it's providing a dense, cold, oxygen-rich air for combustion. To cool the air even further, you can see a couple jets over here on the top, and you'll have a water tank in the back, and there are paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which if you hit them, will spray cold water onto the intercooler, making the air that much more colder, and then hence providing like a punch of extra horsepower. You can see here there's a roof scoop. If I just hold the hood up, you can see that the scoop allows air to come into the engine bay, first of all cooling the jets, and then of course redirecting and ramming the air right on top of the intercooler. So it's all functional. Yeah, there's so much more I can talk about this, but I think we should take a look inside now. The interior of the S209 is also very unique. The materials are pretty good, but I think if you're going to buy this car, you would be okay with, just good materials, but you're not going to be too picky about how soft it feels, because that's not the point of this car, not at all. You'll see down here the S209 badging. In fact, in the full series production unit car, even the badging, the stamp for the chassis and body number will say STI rather than Subaru, but not on this show prototype. Another thing you'll notice as I get inside is the steering wheel does not have Subaru, but that's also badged only as an STI. That red color that we saw outside along the bottom of the bumper, that same color is there as a dash through the center of the dashboard. Jonas, hop inside, let's take a closer look. Again, like I was talking about the steering wheel, it's really, really sporty, has a flat bottom, and even though this car only comes with a 6-speed short-throw manual transmission, which I'll talk about in a minute, there are paddle shifters, and that's for the intercooler spray. You can see that it says IC spray, so it's a really fun way to, give you a little bit more control of the car, and this is the point of the STI, the S209. It's not a car that's trying to be smarter than you, trying to be a better driver than you. It's a great tool. It's a great track weapon, and it gives you a lot of things in your control. So things like the gearbox. It's a short throw, close ratio, 6-speed manual, and that's the only way you get it. The pedals are also aluminum drilled. Gives really good feedback. Has really good weight, as far as I can tell sitting here. Short throw. Of course, I can't really feel that too much when it's at standstill. Infotainment system, yeah, I'm sure it's pretty decent. I cannot test that right now. Unfortunately, it's not on. Dual zone climate control, that's good. A fairly decent glove box, which is actually damped, so a little bit of premiumness there. Although the plastics are a bit hard, the top of the dashboard is fairly soft. To be honest, I think the design of the dashboard is quite plain. The color is very old-fashioned. I mean, it's just a regular textured black. There's nothing that's beautiful about it or elegant about it. I think it's just very functional. But again, this car is about the drive, not really about all of that, or at least not as much. So anyway, let's talk about the drive then. Let's talk about the stuff that it has to make it drive better. Short throw gearbox. Here you can see the drive mode selector, the SI drive. There's the intelligent mode if you just press this, and here it's kind of like a daily driving mode, which gives you better fuel economy. Then you have sport and sport sharp. Of course, makes the car a lot more tighter if you have it in sport sharp. Crisp throttle response, heavier steering, so on and so forth. This car also has upgraded brakes. It has 6-piston Brembo brakes at the front, dual pistons in the rear. The 6-speed transmission feeds a symmetrical all-wheel drive system, as with all Subarus, with torque vectoring and limited slip differentials in both front and rear axle. There's also a central differential, and it's a driver-controlled central differential. And you can see here, there's a little toggle switch where you can increase and decrease the amount of lock in the clutch pack for the central differential. Of course, I can't really explain or test how all this works. Hopefully, if I get to drive this car, I will definitely look into all of these things. They only plan to produce 200 of them, so I'm guessing over here you can see a stamp with how many, the serial number of the car out of the total that were manufactured. This being a show car, it's all zeros. Let's take a look in the back seat. Although I hope I never have to sit in this seat in this car. I would want to sit in this seat instead. But this is a 4-door, 4-seater sedan. So that means you can use this as a daily driver. You can have it to drive your kids to school. You can go do your grocery shopping in this car as well. There's about enough legroom for me at least. Just about enough headroom as well. I'm 5'8" or 1.7 meters. The seat is actually fairly comfortable. You have this Alcantara material and synthetic leather, so that's always a great combination. There are no air conditioning vents in the rear, at least on this car, and I doubt any of the S209s would have that. But at least there are cup holders. Also, I don't see any charging ports. That's perhaps a bit of an omission that I would at least expect in a car that's in 2019. But apart from that, the center seat, let's take a look. It is a bit firm, and it's not that bad in terms of the base. The backrest is a bit firm, but I don't really have any other place to keep my feet apart from the footwells on either side. So if you want to have 3 passengers sitting back here, it's going to be fairly tight. But still, I mean, for 4 passengers, it is fairly practical. Let's take a look in the trunk. It's fairly simple. I think it's a pretty decent shape. There are quite a lot of contours from the wheel arches and the mechanism for the hinge of the trunk lid. So that does eat up quite a lot of space here, to be honest. But still, it is fairly practical. Some more space down here for your emergency kit. But yeah, I mean, if you're taking this car on a track, you wouldn't want a spare tire anyway. I don't see you can flip the seats down. And besides, you have the bar, the rigidity bar across the back. I mean, this is, again, kind of showing you what this car really cares about. This bar provides extra rigidity to the chassis, the same as the tower bar on the struts in the front. So they do impede a little bit of space in the trunk. But overall, I mean, it's not that bad at all. I'm here with Charles. He is a PR representative of Subaru, and he's going to talk to us about this fantastic unicorn of a car here, the S209.
Hi, so we're debuting the S209 here. It's built specifically for the U.S. This is the first ever S-Series in the U.S., and we have the white with gold wheels. It comes in 2 colors. It comes with in World Rally Blue with gray wheels. So this is the most powerful STI that we've ever built, and it comes on BBS wheels with bespoke Dunlop tires made specifically for the car. It has a beefier suspension, beefier brakes, all tuned by STI. This is one of the first vehicles you say is actually made by STI for the U.S. market. And we do a quick walk around. We have little wider flares. We got the carbon fiber wing, carbon fiber roof. And inside we have specific for the S-Series, we have red trim throughout. We have Recaro seats.
And I believe that you're going to be doing only a limited production run of about 200 units. Is that correct?
Correct. So we don't have the final numbers in yet, but it's going to be around 200.
And only for the U.S. market?
Correct.
Is there a strategic reasoning for that, that you're not selling this in other markets? I do know that the U.S. is a major market for Subaru, but I mean, a car like this perhaps has a market elsewhere? Is there a particular reason why?
Well, it's part of the strategy because we rely a lot on customer feedback. So you'll see a lot of the changes from our car based on customer feedback. So for years, people have talked about they wanted the S Series. So we're finally at we had a chance where we can actually make this reality for the U.S. market. So we had the U.S. market specifically in mind whenever we built this car.
So, I mean, right behind us, we see the standard WRX STI. So, of course, this car makes a little bit more power. It has better suspension and brakes. But what are the other, characteristic things that we don't see on the outside? Forget the carbon fiber wing and stuff. That's the technology and the hardware that's going on underneath that makes the S209 that much better than the standard STI.
Well, the engines are hand-built by STI, so they used forged steel pistons. We have the water spray for the injectors.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So we haven't had that since '04, and it's manual controlled. So what do? You could give it a little blast to it. It'll increase the horsepower, give it like a little bit of bump in power whenever you need it. Mm-hmm. And as far as it's got a close gear ratio, transmission, short shifter. So that's all standard on the car.
So only manual, right? 6-speed manual.
Yep, just manual transmission.
That's the way God intended this car to be, absolutely. I mean, it still has 4 doors, easily seats 4 passengers, has a decent-sized trunk. So, I mean, what would be your demographic? Are you looking at somebody who already owns a WRX STI and wants to upgrade from that to this? Or is it for somebody who's would jump into Subaru as a brand with this car? Who are you targeting with the S209?
Well, it is built with the track in mind. So we're aiming at an established track drivers. They've had STIs in the past, but they just want to step up their game a little bit. So that's why we have the bespoke tires, and it was designed especially for track, like just for the weekends, but still has the same comfort of ride as a daily driver.
Mm-hmm. So with the bigger turbo, this car makes roughly 341 horsepower. You don't have official figures yet,
right.
But can you tell me some other numbers that, at least ballpark figures in terms of torque, 0 to 60?
We still don't have the final numbers on theirs yet. So that's going to be coming in the spring.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when does this car officially go on sale? When can people go and buy this?
Don't have the exact date yet, but it's going to be later this year, toward the end of the year.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, looks really great. Hopefully you guys have a PR event where you can invite me to let me come and drive this car on track. I would be thrilled to do that. And
great. It's going to be a great opportunity for us journalists to come out there and drive it. We're thinking about having a track day where you could really experience this car, like where it's meant to be driven.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you my card. You got to give me a call.
Definitely.
Charles, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The STI S209 is a special car for the keen driver. I mean, it's not going to appeal to a lot of people because, let's be honest, the standard WRX STI has a lot of the capabilities that this car already has. It already has about 310 horsepower from the same 2.5 boxer unit. It also has symmetrical all-wheel drive, locking differentials, and yeah, it's not that different. And it's already about 40 grand for that car, and I know that this is easily going to be at least 60 grand. And does it really, is it really worth that extra money? To most people, probably not, but that's why it's a limited edition car. People who know what this is about, people who don't really mind spending the extra money would be really happy for it, I'm sure. It's just about the small details. It's all about that extra last 3%, which makes all the difference, which also costs a lot of money. But in the end, I can only judge this after I've driven it. So fingers crossed that one day we'll have an Autogefühl review of the S209. Jonas and I made our way to the Kia booth here at the NAIAS, and there's something big happening here. What am I talking about? Well, it's this. It's the all-new Kia Telluride, and it's the biggest SUV Kia has ever made. front of the Telluride, to me, is a bit hit and miss. Again, very subjective, because I like what Kia does with its design language. I like the tiger nose grille. I like how the new ones are really angular, and like the new Kia Soul Electric is also very futuristic. But this is very boxy and a bit old-fashioned. And I also think the headlamps are a bit too small. It doesn't seem that proportional to the rest of the size of the SUV. But that is what this car is trying to achieve. It is trying to be boxy. It is trying to be a little bit old-fashioned. It's just trying to be big and brash. But I think it's still quite mature and sophisticated to that aspect as well. The grille is not as large as some of the other American competitors, and it does have a lot of smooth flowing edges and not so many sharp, jagged edges either. So overall, again, it's a bit of a mixed response from my side. Telluride sits on the same platform as the Hyundai Palisade, so that means it's an 8-seater, 3-row configuration. So it's pretty long. The wheels are nice and big. They are 20 inches as we go along the side. A very simple, singular design line which goes very much flat from the front to the back. It's just very big, very tall, almost vertical on this side, which means there's a lot of interior space because of these tall doors and these tall windows let in a lot of light. But what do you guys think? Does it seem different enough? Does it seem unique enough? I do like the fact that it also has the plastic cladding along the wheel arches, even though they're not squared off. It does have a pretty rough and rugged stance as compared to the Palisade, but yeah, it's I would say it's more similar to the VW Atlas. The back of the Telluride, actually, I like, because even though these tail lamps in this kind of hook, upside-down J shape might seem a bit quirky, I like that it's trying something new, and it also seems very Korean to me, or at least in line with some of the other Kia design. It doesn't seem as simple and safe and plain as the front. So that way it's nice. There's also this interesting round haunch in the middle of the tailgate, which again, I think it comes together. It's a lot more interesting and a lot more unique. The bottom is also pretty cool. I do like these quad tailpipes, and they are actual tailpipes. They're not just a cosmetic fake exhaust tips. Or sorry, it's just dual. There's no on the other side. But it still, I think, retains some of that sporty character, as well as being off-road, as well as being big. So a good combination overall. Let's check inside. I do like this wood trim inlay. Pretty soft materials on the top, soft here, and of course harder down there, which is fine. Harman Kardon, I love their systems, they're really good. And yeah, let's just hop inside. The inside of the Telluride, actually, I do like the wood here. I think it always lifts the cabin when you have wood inside. I also like the wide touchscreen. Unfortunately, none of this turns on during the show. We'll have to wait till there's a press drive event where we can actually test all the systems out. But it seems very easy to use. Big simple buttons and knobs where you need them, and of course a large display when you don't. I also like the center console. This is a very nice, soft, damped flap here for revealing the wireless charger for the phone, the USB ports, so on and so forth. And overall, build quality is generally pretty good. There are certain areas, however, like the fit and finish of this center console. There's a lot of play and flex, which is not really a big deal, but you know, when it's supposed to be a rugged off-road car, things like this should be a little bit better tied down. We'll have to see. Maybe this is perhaps a pre-series prototype of some sort. Being a Kia, this car is packed with features, such as the shade for the side windows. This also has the captain seat arrangement for the middle row, which means I have a bunch of options to, for example, recline the seat, slide it forward if I want to. So plenty of space, of course. A lot of headroom as well. I'm 5'8". There's also a nice large panoramic sunroof, so the rear passengers also have a lot of light. Tall windows on the side, cup holders. Interestingly, there are USB charger ports on the sides of the seat, which is really cool. I think it's a great idea because then you can plug in your phone and drop it down here in the beverage holder, for example, or keep it inside this pocket. If not, there's also a standard 12-volt power socket and a 115-volt plug socket. While we're at it, let's take a look at the third row of seats, of course. And for that, there's also a very cool single button which you press and the seat will automatically flip and slide forward. Let me just... There we go. Lift that seat up. So let's try to clamber in. Now's the moment of truth. There's a nice plastic step for me to use and a handle over there. And voila. Let me try to recline the back a little bit since it's too upright. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's a little bit more comfortable. Let's pull the seat this way. And yeah, actually it's not that bad. I have decent knee room. In fact, I can even slide my feet a little bit under the seat in front of me. Have a nice luxurious armrest. Another USB port over here, more beverage holders, a nice big cubby hole, a lot of places to put away all the junk that your kids are going to have back here. And actually these seats are not that bad. There's actually a third seat here. That's why, hence, the 8-seater. If you had, instead of captain seats, you had a full row, it would be 3 + 3 + 2. So because of that, you know, the seat is quite shallow, so you can see how far off my foot is from the base of the seat. You can also see how high off my thigh is from the base of the seat, but it's not as bad as, for example, the Ford Explorer. In fact, even the cabin design, the dashboard design, I think is much better than the Ford Explorer. And of course, 4-wheel drive. So I hope Kia prices this car competitively. This interesting bulbous shape also means that on the inside, there's a lot more space for in the luggage compartment. Even with the third row of seats up, there's plenty of room here for at least a couple suitcases. And because there's that little bit more space at the top of the hatch, it kind of liberates more volume. Similarly, if you get rid of the floor here, there's a little bit more space, as well as a spare tire down here, which I'm having a bit of difficulty to access, but of course, there's a spare tire down there, which is good. You also have some switches here to topple the seats, which, by the way, you can even recline in 2 different steps. So for a third row of seats, it's a pretty cool feature, see? So you have 1 step here, you can also pull it further back, and of course, you can just topple it all the way down. I'm here with James Bell in the Kia booth at the Detroit Auto Show. Hi, James. Thanks for being here.
Hey,
thanks for taking
pleasure.
time. You're
I run all PR, corporate communications, and social media for this fine company.
Fantastic, and a future celebrity, as we were just discussing.
You heard it here first.
Yes. So behind me, we have an all-new car from Kia.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, this has been a real passion, or I should say fun project. A lot of passion involved from the company on this. This is called the Telluride. This is our entry into the 7 or 8 passenger crossover space, where much of the heat in the car industry is right now. Big sales happening there. So we're pretty excited to now have a Kia entry in this place. What I think is fun about it, though, is that we're really setting it up, especially with the marketing campaign, which you're going to see soon, like next month. Think about it for a second. There's a big event coming, and maybe you'll see something there. Okay. That's really setting up to be a rugged people mover. You know, so many of the other vehicles, like the sister vehicle, the Hyundai Palisade, a lovely vehicle, but it's really being set up as kind of a family. Soft roader, exactly. This is a hard roader. And it's got a lot of like a torque vectoring all-wheel drive, some real equipment in there that makes it much more than just a way to go up and down the street. Now we know that this, what a lot of people buy these vehicles for is to take the kids. But we're really positioning that this is an adventure machine, and so we're pretty excited about it. It matches the Kia spirit and personality as well.
So in terms of design, for example, what is it because I see that it looks quite different than Kias, especially Kias that we see back in Germany.
Yep.
And of course, even Kias here, like the Soul that you have, it's a little bit more different. It's a little bit more different than the Hyundai as well.
Yeah, I mean, every Kia is going to have what we call the Tiger Nose Grille.
Right.
That's the the marker that Peter Schreier really built for the company. So you've got that there, but you're right. Otherwise, it does become very different. What it was really modeled after was SUVs of old. The proper Jeep or Chevy Tahoe from the '80s. It was just boxy and muscular and purposeful. This is not trying to look modern. It's trying to look like it can really do stuff, and that's what we think matches the Kia personality very well as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because this front does look very American, does not really look Korean to me.
Big shiny teeth coming at you, as they often say about Americans. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
It's very bold.
Yeah, fantastic. So you were talking to me about, you said it has four-wheel drive, torque vectoring.
Yeah.
So of course it's still, I don't think it has locking differentials and stuff like that.
It can lock. Yeah, absolutely. It's got I think 6 different drive modes, snow, and then one of them is lock. So no, it's a proper all-wheel drive machine.
Fantastic. So what would be the kind of engines that are on offer? Are there any hybrids?
Only thing we're allowed to talk about now is it's a 6-cylinder, 291 horsepower, I believe. It uses Atkinson cycle technology, which is kind of interesting.
Variable compression.
Absolutely, yeah, very good. You're one of the few people who knows what that
I have an engineering degree.
Oh, well, I just read about it. It could maybe, some would think, need more power, but fuel efficiency is still very important, especially when you get into vehicles of this size. Made it to Kia's in-house 8-speed transmission. Even though it's boxy, worked real hard on the aerodynamics of it. Just little tweaks here and there to make it a little more slippery. So it's a nice balance between the brawn of 2,000, 5,000 pounds. So it can be that real machine, but then still be nice to your wallet. Yeah, efficient, exactly.
And okay, let's move from the outside to a little bit on the inside, or rather under the hood or under the skin. So can you tell me a little bit about what kind of technology is you guys are working on? What's new in terms of maybe driver assistance systems?
This actually is, I think, one of the most advanced vehicles, and yeah, it is the most advanced vehicle in Kia's lineup right now when it comes to safety and getting to almost level 3 level of autonomous driving. Yeah, so lane departure warning, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise. One thing that's really neat is it has sensors in the back which are used for rear cross traffic. So if you're backing out of a parking spot, it'll let you know if a car is coming. What they're doing now is using those same sensors to keep this door locked. So if say your child is here and opening a door into the street, if the car senses there's anything coming, it will keep the door locked until the threat passes. So that's pretty cool.
Fantastic. Maybe we can hop inside and.
Yeah, sure. You want me to go, or
you can go in the driver's seat.
Very good.
Jonas, I'll let you in the back.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we talked about in the press conference was the fact that the first thing you notice when you climb in are these grab handles. And again, we really wanted to convey that this is a comfortable vehicle, very civilized, but then has proper chops. We also worked very, very hard on quietness. One of the things that's so interesting about EVs especially is that because they're so quiet, people often arrive at their destination more relaxed. A quiet vehicle is luxurious in that way. It delivers something that maybe a lot of people don't understand. We worked, now obviously this is not electric, but we worked really hard, dual pane glass on the sides and here on the front, really tuned it to really keep it a nice, quiet, comfortable environment. And one of the things that Kia is really proud of is our interior work. I mean, you see it's classic, it's simple, it's not overly technical, but yet very easy to use. And interestingly enough, Kia does very, very well in J.D. Power analysis here in the States. And when we get the reports back from J.D. Power, we see it's often because of our simple interiors that are nice to look at, so you feel comfortable with it, but then also very easy to use. Nothing is not complex for the sake of being complex.
Absolutely. And a nice big floating screen as well. Does this come as standard, or is it an option?
Yep. Yeah, everything you see on here pretty much is standard. In fact, there's not even a cloth interior option. We really wanted to set this vehicle, give it that Kia value story. And we haven't announced pricing yet, but I think it's going to be really surprising. It's going to be much, much less than people would expect to pay for a vehicle of this nature.
Fantastic. So what would you say are the biggest competitors in the market right now for the Telluride? And apart from maybe a pricing point and the equipment, which I think Kia and Hyundai are always known for, that you get a lot of features for your money. What are your USPs that because it's a brand new car? Let's face it, it's a pretty competitive market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. We're excited to be in this competitive market because we think we've got something compelling here. Main competitors would probably be things like the Toyota Highlander, Honda Pilot, because the current SUV, our Sorento, is just a notch below most of the competition from a size and cargo perspective. Right. It's just a little easier to drive, just a little smaller. This is just a notch above those. Probably one of the main competitors that's doing very well in the U.S. market right now is the new Volkswagen Atlas, and we think this is going to go play against that very, very well, as well as the Subaru Ascent. We think it's really matches very well for people. Certain people in the States are going to be running off to Chevy, Ford. That's just how they want to do it. But for those that are willing to try something different, like Subaru, like Volkswagen, we think we're very compelling in that space.
Fantastic. And just one more thing before I let you go. Sure. I did have a chance to drive and test the Kia e-Niro very recently. Oh, and I really like that car. I really like that, as an electric car, it's very usable, it's very practical, and of course Kia's industry-leading reliability and its warranties there. And so right now this does not have a hybrid. No. So what are the plans for the future in terms of electrifying this platform, and any other derivatives or models that we can see either in the Hyundai Kia family from this platform?
I believe we announced last year that by the year 2022 we'll have 10 new electrified vehicles in the lineup. I'm not at the liberty to tell you which ones where and how, but Kia is very, very, as the Hyundai Group, is very committed to electrification for reasons other than just efficiency. As I said, the quietness of an EV or of a hybrid is an attractive thing. People who own them can appreciate that. And so, yeah, we're going to be having electrified versions of just about everything in the lineup over due time. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, James.
Hey,
it was a pleasure.
No. Talking about new cars is my favorite thing to do. Sounds like it's yours too.
Mine too.
Great.
Kia certainly has a great product with the new Telluride, but what remains to be seen, at least from my point of view, is how different it is, how it can differentiate itself in this very almost saturated market. But it all comes down to, I think, their pricing. I think Kia should really focus on having a competitive price, and then we could probably see a lot more of these cars on the road. What do you guys think? Cadillac has been in a bit of a slump recently, but with the all-new XT6 that we see right here, they hope to bring it all back. So, can this car really achieve what Cadillac wants it to? Let's take a closer look. The front design of the XT6, to me at least, seems a bit of a departure from traditional Cadillac design language, or at least in terms of the headlights, because we see a more horizontal primary headlight unit, and the daytime running light LED is more vertical. Whereas in the Escalade, the XT5, for example, these crossovers, the main headlamp cluster tends to be more vertical. But I do like this different kind of design element, makes it more fresh, makes it feel a lot more new. But of course, this large Cadillac grille is very traditional, very much similar to all the other Cadillacs in the lineup. Further down, more sharper edges, one peak kink in the front, as we know from Cadillac, but overall, very smooth, very elegant design. The XT6 is on the Chevy Traverse platform, so it's not a new platform, but it's kind of in between the XT5 and the Escalade, like I mentioned. So what that means is it's fairly large, but it's not like a truck. The Escalade was built on a truck platform, whereas this is a unibody. The main highlight, however, is that this is a 3-row crossover, so you can have it either as 6-seaters or you can have it as a 7-seat configuration. A very tall, boxy design with very large wheels, but I think the overall design just comes together and looks very executive, very sophisticated. The rear of the XT6 is perhaps more in lines with its younger brother, the XT5, because these tail lamps do not go all the way up to the roof like they do in the Escalade, but is more confined to the lower half of the body. It still has a kind of a T-shaped design. I also like the dash of chrome coming across the middle of the tailgate, but it's very simple, very clean, very elegant. So I think it's a good design. What about you? Let's take a look inside. There's even a little bit of a LED light on the door handle. That's pretty cool. I've never really seen that before. Door opens really wide. Really plush materials on the inside. Of course, the bottom is a bit hard, but everything else is very rich. Real wood inserts. On the sport trim, you can have that in carbon fiber. Fit and finish seems really nice. Nice weight to these controls as well. Also the optional Bose audio system, and I'm sure that would sound pretty good. Getting inside is very easy. It's a crossover, so you don't have to stoop down too low. The seating position is pretty good. It's not that, you can put your seat down fairly low, which I always like. So lots of configurability and control for the seat, as well as the steering wheel, as you can see, for reach and rake. So let's sit inside, take a closer look at the instrument cluster. The dashboard is very minimalist. I think that's quite a nice design philosophy to have. Very few buttons. Unfortunately, on this show car, none of the things are turning on. You have analog dials, which are backlit, but there's also a large display in the middle as well. The touchscreen is also easy to access. It's right at your line of sight, at least down here. This would be your air conditioning controls. Unfortunately, I can't turn them on, but this goes to show that when the car is off, it's very flush, it's very unintrusive, it kind of hides itself away, and only when you need it, will it turn on. More wood, light colors on the top of the dash. This is actually a little bit hard. It's not that soft, but the materials here are also much nicer. A dash of chrome, good sized glove compartment, a place to keep your phone, some beverage holders, a toggle switch here to control the infotainment system, gear shift lever, and of course a center armrest. Let's check out the rear seat. The door opens really wide, so it's really easy to put in your child seats. Getting inside is also really easy because of the crossover body style and the higher ground clearance. This is definitely a soft roader, but because of the four-wheel drive and the reasonably good ground clearance, it will get up your track to your country home or down the beach to your beach shack. But that's about it, really. Space in the back is pretty good. I don't have that much of knee room. The seat is roughly set to my driving position. I can slide my feet under the front seat. Headroom is much nicer. Also, there's a very large panoramic sunroof, which I can't open right now, but it's really expansive, so would make the interior very bright. Tall windows, nevertheless. You have a third zone for the climate control over here. All of these designs for the switchgear, it's very reminiscent of the Cadillac logo and just the overall design of the front grille. Even the instrument cluster that we saw in the front They have this theme going on, and I like this kind of cohesive design philosophy. USB charging and a drawer. It's really cool. I don't usually see this, but I think this is a really great idea because now you have a lot more space, and when you don't need that, you can put it away. You can have captain seats in the second row, but with this bench you have a third seat with an armrest with cup holders. And because there is no central transmission tunnel, a third passenger is fairly reasonably comfortable. The backrest is a bit firm because of that armrest and the cup holders, but it's not too bad. The second row also can be reclined and tumbled, or also slid forward with the latch under the seat here, like so. But there's one switch to tumble the seat and move it out of the way. And now you have access to the third row of seats, or just about enough access to the third row of seats. Well, it's not that comfortable, to be honest, but then again, it's not designed for large adults. I wouldn't say I'm a large adult, but anybody bigger than me would really suffer back here. So it's mostly for children, but then it's totally fine because there's good enough space for your feet. You can put your feet under the front, the second row of seats. Headroom is still adequate. There's even an air conditioning vent on the roof. USB charging ports, beverage holder, and an armrest. So these two seats are fairly usable, although I do not see any ISOFIX points. Strange. So perhaps this is not suitable for child seats. Let's open the tailgate. It's a bit slow, but it's automatic, so that makes it easier. With the third row of seats up, there really isn't much space back here, although you can open up this area and then you see there's a little bit more space. And you can also get rid of this tray, and you can see down there that there's a wheel, the spare wheel. But with this in place, it's a good place to hide away some things. But of course, you can tumble the third row. There's a couple switches on the side, and the seats will fold automatically, which is really useful. Even the second row can be tumbled automatically with these switches. In fact, the third row you can also bring back up with these switches. Not the second row, just the third row. So that's a pretty good feature to have. And with the seats down, there is ample space to carry perhaps bicycles or a lot of luggage. Under the hood of the XT6 is a 3.6 liter V6 engine. Very familiar. We've seen it before. This makes 310 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque. This also has cylinder deactivation, start-stop. This comes coupled with the 9-speed automatic transmission. It also has a on-demand all-wheel drive system with a torque vectoring rear differential and McPherson strut suspension on the front and a multi-link rear suspension. So it's actually quite capable on the road, it would seem, at least with this kind of hardware. I'm here with Jim Hunter, who's been kind enough to come and speak to me for a little while regarding the new XT6. He is the marketing executive for the XT6, so he's the guy to talk to, right?
Thank you, AJ. Yes, I am. I live with this program since the inception, and we're proud to see it come to this point. This is the all-new Cadillac XT6, and it's Cadillac's mid-size luxury three-row crossover that we slot between the Escalade and the XT5. This vehicle comes in both a 6-passenger and 7-passenger version. What differentiates the two, the second row has captain chairs in the second row, and in the second row on the 7-passenger is obviously a bench. We're happy about this vehicle because it affords us to fill a void in our portfolio, okay? And the vehicle appeals to people who need a little bit more configurability or passenging or cargo carrying capability, but not a person who requires, say, the cargo capability of, say, an Escalade. Right. This is an efficient package. It's taut, and it's for that customer that's in an active life stage, if you will. And they don't look at it as a practical choice, but as a reward. To reward themselves for being the CEO of everything, if you will. So that's what this vehicle is all about. We offer it in 2 flavors. You're looking at the premium luxury right here, and that's for the customer who perhaps want a more refined look. Just look at the person perhaps who prefers to wear a tie and open collar, for example. But we focus on refinement and road isolation, cabin, and just purposeful and clean luxury. Now, for those who require a little spice in their life, we also offer in the flavor of sport. And the sport is differentiated by exterior elements, interior elements, and also some of the driving characteristics of the car. The black features more gloss black appointments. We have an optional 21-inch wheels, and it comes standard in what we call the Sport Control all-wheel drive system. And that's a twin clutch system with the active yaw control that allows you a little bit more driving maneuverability, and it creates a more kind of a spirited driving personality, if you will. So those are the 2 flavors of vehicles. So not only are we going after that new customer, because we didn't have it before, so we expect, but we have a product where we can catch the old customers who are moving in and out of particular life stages. So we think it's a real big win for us.
Fantastic. So a little bit more about the drivetrain. So I understand that this is based on the Chevy Traverse platform as well. Yeah. You did mention that it's all-wheel drive with a torque vectoring clutch packs on the rear axle. I think it also has a multi-link rear suspension McPherson strut, so it's a very capable on-road crossover. So is that something that would then mean that it's not particularly suited for off-road capabilities? Is that something that was, one of the forefront priorities that you guys tried to design into the car?
No. As you know, the growth of the whole crossover segment is an opportunity, and within that growth, you have slivers of different needs and how that vehicle will use that car. So our focus was to try to get that 80%, which would, for example, those who we talked about the sport model who like more of an enthusiast feel, failed to mention that it too comes standard with chassis damping control system. Okay, that's that customer. Okay, I've got a trailer with 2 wave runners, and I'm active. I like to have fun. I need something to carry my tow my wave runner. Well, you get the V92 trailing package, 4,000 pounds. Okay, or I got coaching duties for the soccer team, and okay, that's a 7 passengers because I got to carry as many people as necessary. So, within that crossover space, we try to go after the variety of needs, and we try to focus on that as opposed to trying to go after some of the other outlying needs for a crossover.
Fantastic. All right, very interesting. So what would you think would be, the future of this model? Right now, there is only one, I think it's a 3.5 liter V6 gasoline engine.
Actually, it's a 3.6 liter. 3.6. Okay, it's a 3.6 liter, and it's married to a 9-speed automatic transmission. That's a new application for our crossover. As you know, we got an XT5 with an 8-speed, and so we got a 9-speed for this. And what that affords us to do is it allows us to take that power coming from the 310 3.6 liter V6 and get it to the wheels in a very seamless way where it's transparent. In that you tip into the throttle, you get that immediate response, that go response, and we believe that's is adequate for this vehicle at this time. And then going forward, we will always keep our ear to the track just to see if we can capitalize any opportunity as a result, as it relates to alternative propulsion systems. But right now, our focus will be the 3.6 liter.
These three-row crossovers are quite a large market here in the US. We've seen just 3 of them being launched here at the Detroit Auto Show, the Ford Explorer, the Kia Telluride. Of course, these are a little bit different in their own right. This is more luxury-oriented. This will be a little bit more expensive for sure. But still, I think it's a good platform. It's a tried and tested platform from the GM group. And the interior I really like. I haven't spent that much time in Cadillacs before. It's very limited, my experience with them, but this interior, I really like it. I think it's elegant. I also like the wood. I like the light color. And actually, if you think about it, with the multi-link rear suspension, torque vectoring, all-wheel drive, this does have quite a lot of the hardware to make it drive well on the road. And that all-wheel drive system will definitely help you go, a little bit off-road or at least rough road. So it seems like a great one-stop shop for somebody who wants a luxurious family crossover. Here at the VW booth at the NAIAS, I have found the 2020 VW Passat. So join me and let's take a quick walk around and see what's new for this generation. The front of the 2020 Passat, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything new. It seems fairly similar to the rest of the VW group, very similar to the Jetta, more evolutionary. Of course, in terms of the Passat itself, it's a bit of an upgrade, a bit of a refresh, but nothing special, nothing that I find is significantly different than what we see in Volkswagens nowadays, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what the corporate design philosophy is going towards today. So you have the large front grille, very horizontal, very simple, and very straightforward horizontal headlamps, of course now with LED. The front logo is two-dimensional because that houses the radar sensor, which means down here you have a much more cleaner part of the bumper, and just overall very simple, very elegant, very German. The side profile of the Passat is very simple and clean. You get 17-inch wheels as standard, but you can optionally get 18 and 19-inch wheels as well. A singular design line which goes from the front all the way to the back, lending this car a very cohesive design language. As we go along the side, fairly large door. This is a larger car compared to, for example, the Jetta, so there is a lot more interior space and a lot more space in the trunk. We'll see that in a minute. The roofline, well, they say it's more coupe-like, and that's a word that has been used quite often nowadays in PR by these car companies. This, to me, is not a coupe. It's a very traditional sedan. Yes, it's not so boxy cut. It's a little bit more sloping, but perhaps the Arteon is the only car I would associate with having a coupe roofline in this family. But on the whole, it is a very clean, simple design, very executive, very German. The back is very simple. Clean horizontal lines for the tail lamps, very similar to the Jetta as well, but a little bit more longer here in the Passat. The branding also in big bold letters along the boot lid. Simple logo, camera for the rear view, parking assist, sensors as well, and unfortunately there are no exhaust tips visible in the back bumper. It's just this cosmetic element. There is nothing even behind this. Even the R-Line, which I'll show you in a minute, doesn't have real exhaust tips. The actual exhaust is further down. The boot, however, is really spacious. As you can see, much larger than the Jetta. Very usable, very rectangular. The wheel arches do kind of impede a little bit into the space, but you do have a lot more space over here. You could even probably fit a smaller suitcase in this cubby area. You do get a temporary spare wheel, so it's easier to fix a flat on the way rather than use the tire kit. You also have these switches to release the seats, although they do not tumble. So which means that once you've released them, you have to go to the front and flip the seats down. And as you can see, it folds in a 60-40 fashion, allowing you to put those really large items in the back. The R-Line for the new Passat makes the car a little bit more sporty in terms of its design. So for example, the lower bumper is redesigned to look more athletic and a little bit more aggressive. You have this glossy black inlay around the edges to kind of make the car a lot much more sporty looking. The R-Line logo as well. Even the grille has a little bit of extra detailing like these chrome slats along the vertical lines in the grille. Towards the side, you will also notice that the R-Line has special wheels, and at the back, the bumper is also redesigned. It has twin fake exhaust tip designs, and there's also a small glossy black spoiler. The door is fairly large because, of course, this is a slightly larger sedan. Materials are not that bad, although this car has, in all honesty, been built down to a price. So it's not the most, it doesn't have the most expensive materials, but it's still very acceptable. You can also see this car comes with the optional Fender audio system that we've seen for a lot of the Volkswagen America cars like the Atlas. But on the inside, yeah, the dashboard is pretty neat. Sit inside and let's take a closer look. The seats are fully adjustable electronically in this variant. So is the steering column, although manually, so finding a comfortable seating position is very easy. The dashboard is really usable, very easy to see and very easy to use, although there is no virtual cockpit since this is not on the MQB platform. Materials on the top of the dash are very nice. I do like the faux wood inserts. As usual, I always like wood inside the interior cabin of a car. Just makes it seem that much more cozy. This light beige color also lifts the cabin, makes it a lot more bright inside. Thanks to also, in part, the sunroof, which lets in ample light. Place to keep your sunglasses. So very expected of a Volkswagen car. Nice horizontal upper area for the vents for the air conditioning. Very seamless design. I really like it. The infotainment system is also very slick, very responsive. The screen isn't that large, but you do get some shortcut soft touch buttons along the sides. And of course, you get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and MirrorLink. Dual zone climate control, a lot of charging ports and USB ports, and a very usable center armrest with a cubbyhole underneath. In the back, there's plenty of space, thanks to this car being that much more larger than the Jetta. So getting inside is also fairly easy. I'm 5'8". I have just about enough headroom, plenty of knee room. I can also slide my feet under the front seat. Large bin in the door to keep water bottles and such. In the middle over here, we see some air conditioning vents. Although there doesn't seem to be a third zone for the rear, perhaps it's an option. We'll have to wait once we get the configurator. Heated seats for the rear passengers, which is nice. Although, as of now, there is no ventilated seats for even the front passengers. But on the plus side, some USB ports, and the transmission tunnel is fairly shallow, which means that a center passenger can also fit reasonably comfortably. The bench is also fairly up high, so you're not sitting down too low. Isofix points for child seats and a center armrest with cup holders. Under the hood of the 2020 Passat is the same 2-liter inline turbo 4 petrol engine that we've seen before, coupled with a 6-speed Tiptronic torque converter Autobox. But with this new generation, there is a little bit of a bump up in torque, but the power remains the same at 174 horsepower. In fact, at launch, the car will come with the previous generation's petrol engine, and only after that will this new engine be available. They're all front-wheel drive only, with no option, at least currently, for an all-wheel drive version. So I just stumbled into Will at the Volkswagen booth here at the Detroit Auto Show. He's with the North American PR team. Will, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us and speak to us. So behind us, as you guys can see, is the all-new 2020 Passat. When I say all-new, it's not really all-new. It's just a more of an evolutionary new generation of the Passat. So can you tell us a little bit about what's different about it now, what's new about it, and just takeaway features that you want to highlight?
Sure. Well, it's a pretty extensive refresh, as you mentioned. Outside of the car, there's not much that is shared with the previous version of it. Almost every panel of the sheet metal has been redesigned to give a sleeker, faster look that really suits the nature of the car and the nature of Volkswagen's fun-to-drive characteristic that so many people look at our vehicles for. If you walk around, whether you're looking at the standard or the R line, you see the styling is very crisp. It's like a low slung, almost coupe-like profile to it. The front end is a very much more aggressive than it was in the past. New set of wheels, 19-inch wheels that come on the R line that are really striking looking. Just a head-turning car inside and out. While many brands move away from sedans, we look at the numbers and still see that they sell. They're a good 20-25% of the cars sold in the U.S. every year. So the Passat has been a great standing, great performer for us, built in our factory in Chattanooga, and we've decided to stick with it and keep it going, give more of what the customers like, less of what they don't, and this is our answer to that.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the drivetrain and the platform. So this, first of all, is a platform that is specific for the Passat in North America. It's not the same platform that's used in the other European versions of the car, correct?
Correct. So this is one of our cars that are not built on the MQB platform yet. That's something that it just made sense with the life cycle of the car to carry it around and switch that over to later. But it's been on this platform for quite a while, and we've gotten the chance to really tweak it and fine-tune it, and we're very happy with how it's come out.
And it's the same 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder petrol engine with a 6-speed Tiptronic torque converter Autobox with only front-wheel drive. Is there any plans of giving this car a 4-motion, like a Haldex coupling for an all-wheel drive conversion in the future, or is that something that you guys have not decided on yet?
Well, all the specs that you mentioned earlier are correct. This version gets a bump in torque, so there is a nice noticeable increase there from the previous version. There's no plans for all-wheel drive in the Passat right now. There, just doesn't seem like something that the customers who are going for that would go for in this particular model, although we do offer it extensively along our lines of SUV. The Tiguan and the Atlas are both available with 4Motion now, as well as our upcoming Arteon, which will have 4Motion available as well.
Fantastic. And one last thing we can talk about before I let you go. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done on the inside? Like, we talked about the outside and the drivetrain now, but in terms of the space and in terms of the technology and the features, what's new for the new model?
Well, the inside of the Passat has always been very, very spacious. It has class-leading legroom in its segment. The trunk is enormous. You can get your family in there and have lots of room to spare. The center console has been a little bit tweaked, more aerodynamic looking. The styling has been brought higher up inside the car to match the exterior styling as well. So you look inside, and while we're not a premium brand per se, you can really see some nice touches inside that echo, features you might see in a car with a much higher sticker than this one.
Just one last question on the same topic. What about virtual cockpit in the dashboard? Do we see that in this generation, or is it still not on the books yet?
So we will not see digital cockpit in this particular version, basically because it is tied to the MQB platform. It would require some extensive changes to make it work with this platform, but it is something that we are moving into more of our vehicles every day, every generation. It's just not there yet on the Passat.
All right, just one last thing. I know I'm holding you for so many questions, but can you give us an idea of the ballpark for the price of the Passat? Where does it start from?
We can't announce the pricing just yet, but we do imagine it to be very in line with the outgoing version.
All right, well, thank you so much for your patience and time. And
my pleasure.
Hopefully we get to drive this car and test it out for ourselves.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
With prices expected to remain about the same for the 2020 Passat as the outgoing model, it still remains a good price-performance package. Although I do wish for this generation they would have brought in a lot of the new features that we even see on cars like the Jetta, but I guess, it's also down to the fact that it's on an outdated platform. But on the whole, it's still a very reliable car. It comes with 6-year, 72,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, so good peace of mind, plenty of space on the inside and in the trunk, and it drives pretty well, as we know from all VWs. What do you guys think? Is this something that you guys would buy, or do you think sedans like this are really a dying breed and you would just get an SUV instead? I was just walking around the Detroit Auto Show and I bumped into Michael from Envy. He's going to tell us about what you guys do. You guys have a dealership, and tell us more about this big monster.
Yeah, so we're an exotic and luxury car dealer based out of St. Clair Shores, and we're also a customization boutique. So we built this G63. It used to actually be a white stock G-Wagon, so it's completely different. We wrapped the entire truck in red. You can't see any of the white anymore. Did the door jambs, everything. We put portal axle suspension on it, so it's like the 550 they make, 4x4 squared, but it's a G63. Right. So it's faster, better. It's actually, I believe it's 3 inches bigger than the actual 4x4 squared that Mercedes makes. Wow. We put these Strass forged wheels on it. This was the first. Strass came out with these wheels specifically for this truck, and they released their HD series wheels for this truck. We powder coated the brush guard. The normal 4x4 does not come with a brush guard, so we put one on this truck. Full Brabus kit with hood, the side vents, the front end, the lower valance kit, the rear bumper, the roof pieces. It's got a Meisterschaft exhaust. It sounds amazing. Y-Stec downpipes. It's truly a complete monster on the road.
It sounds obnoxious. I mean, Brabus cars are, and this is the full turkey.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
It doesn't get much better than this. It's unbelievable. Actually, these two cars go together. Sold them to the same owner, and he kind of wanted both cars to match. So we went with a similar theme on both rides. Sold him this car sometime last year, red. That's a factory color. We put some wheels on it, carbon fiber kit, and we wrapped the car in a clear paint protection film. So we wanted this car to match. So it was the closest color we could get to complement the Aventador. I think they look great together.
Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you guys had a lot of fun. It's always great for us to go to these auto shows. It's like going to Disneyland for car enthusiasts like you and I, to see all these great cars in the flesh, to touch them, sit in them, and experience them, even though in a small way. There are a lot of great booths this year. For example, we're at the GAC booth, a Chinese manufacturer on the rise. Definitely should be seeing more of these cars on American roads, probably in the future. Let us know what your favorite was. I think that generally we saw a lot of crossovers this time, family cars, 6-seaters, 7-seaters like the Ford Explorer, the Kia Telluride, and the Cadillac XT6. So that seems to be a trend. Of course, SUVs in general. Jonas, what about you? What was your favorite?
I think it's the Jeep Gladiator. Like you said, this car looks like an adventure. You have a lot of fun, like pure nature feeling. And, looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So great cars here at the show. And I think overall, we know that auto shows like this are kind of on the decline. Not many people come to them, or it's expensive. A lot of car manufacturers this year did not turn up at the Detroit Auto Show as well. So it's always great to get an opportunity to experience these kinds of events. Hope you guys stick around. Next time, the NAIAS will be in the summer, so summer 2020. So make sure you stick around for that.